Good afternoon. This is the Board of Appeals, Town of Hempstead, March 1st, 2 o'clock meeting. Mr. Chairman, do you have any opening remarks?
No, I saved them. I said them this morning. For those of you who have not been here before, the protocol that we follow is the applicant will present their case. Then, if there are any objections, they will be given the opportunity of voicing their objections. And at the conclusion of the hearing, the applicant's attorney or the applicant himself or herself will be given the opportunity of rebuttal, after which we will close the hearing. Some of the cases will be decided today. Some of the cases will be held. And unless there is anything...
We just have a few adjournments. First, we have case 156-23, Levittown, Tashi Gayotso. Variance front yard setback on Saddle Lane. Construct addition and roof over open porch attached to dwelling, also known as 100 Saddle Lane.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Just your name and address for the record.
That's it.
Gennaro Cozzolino, 2125 Deer Park Avenue, Deer Park, New York, 11729. Requesting adjournment. Defective notice, yes.
Okay.
We can do April 5th, 2 o'clock.
Is that the earliest?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you
so much.
You're welcome. Shooters.
Next, we have an adjournment for case 157-23 through 159-23, Wantaw. Eddie Miliacci, doing business as Shooters. Variance front yard, average setback, maintain roof over attached to existing building. Variance rear yard, relocate dumpster. Variance rear yard, maintain oil tank, also known as 2109 Wantaw Avenue.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Good.
I need an adjournment.
You're requesting an adjournment? Defective sign posting?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the same thing, April 5th, 2 o'clock.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
And you know what you need to do?
Yes.
Yep. Post a sign. Patrick?
All right, you're free to go.
Thank you.
They have to fix the sign, is that correct? Update the signage?
They don't. Yeah, they use the sample sign,
Oh.
and then change like their numbers.
Yes. I got it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Next, we have case 160-23 near East Rockway, East Rock Development LLC. Variances front width from and on street line to front yard, setback line, lot area occupied, front yard average setback, rear yard maintained 3-story dwelling with garage and proposed 2nd-story rear deck attached thereto, also known as 1 East Hudson Street.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon.
It's Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmore, New York. At the request of the agent for the applicant, Rudy LePan, he asked me if I can put this off for a month and a half to April 26th in the morning. Rudy is not able to get out of the house right now. He's not in best health.
He's not in the best of health.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Hopefully he will be better by then. Sorry.
So, April 26th,
9:30.
9:30. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more adjournment. It's case 163-23 Seaford JGAP LLC. Special exception for place of public assembly and amusement in portion of existing building, restaurant/bar, variance in off-street parking, also known as 3490 Merrick Road.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, Thomas McKevitt, son, Ward, Braff, Koblenz, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Mr. Chairman, we became aware last week that there are a number of people in the community who are concerned about the use that are going to take place at the premises. So once that occurred, I decided to go and figure it would be best to adjourn the hearing. I did inform the Secretary of the Board this last Friday. We did send out a letter to everyone within the radius, on the radius map, that I've been making that request today. So when they their time to come down here today, we're going to be looking to have a meeting with members of the community, hopefully the next 10 days or so they can meet with the owners and hopefully respond to any questions or concerns they might have. So based upon that, I'd be asking for an adjournment date of April 5th at 2 p.m.
We have a number of people here. Would at least one of you or many of you step forward?
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Good afternoon. Just so you are aware, when a case is ordinarily on for the first time and adjournment is requested, we will almost always grant it. All right. I don't believe you have to send new notices on this one.
Correct, but I'm going to send out, again, a letter anyway to the neighbors talking about the new date, as well as an opportunity to meet the owners so you can sit down and talk and address any concerns they may have.
Mr. Chairman, I took the day off, as did everyone else, and we don't have a lot of personal time off from our jobs. I'd like you to listen to us today and respectfully to the attorney here regarding letters of notification. We didn't get any in the surrounding blocks, and I have that in my statement. I think it is prudent to let the community just speak to you today, if you allow us to do that.
Then the case would have to go forward, and I don't believe we've ever done that. When there is a request for an adjournment, invariably we grant it. Okay, I'm sorry that many of you had to take the day off, but that's our protocol. We've
How many more adjournments will you have? How many more times is this?
hopefully none.
So the next time is correct. The next time
It should be. It's not marked final, but there should be no other reason for an adjournment, unless, of course, someone on your side requests it.
This is for parking variance.
and a restaurant request.
And the restaurant. Now, this is a retail location. What's going to change?
Okay. With all due respect, ma'am, we're not going to hear the case today. You'll have the opportunity of coming in on the date to which we adjourn it and make that presentation.
And to be honest with you, this is best case scenario from our perspective, because this is an applicant who discovered some concerns and actually wants to meet with you guys, with the owner and his counsel, whatever, to maybe, I mean, we've been doing this a long time. Oftentimes people say, look, well, the thing is, I can see your ugly building. Sometimes they put up a tree. I don't know. But he's actually requesting it so that he may try at least to address issues that may be presented by you folks. So as the chairman said, to be honest, we would always grant this because we want, best case scenario, applicant and community members work together. So, I mean.
What day?
April 5th, Mr. Chairman.
Is that?
What day?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Another day off.
And again, for what it's worth, Mr. Chairman, I just found this out by notice in the mailbox. No one has ever contacted me regarding this. My phone murder was willing to talk to anyone anytime regarding this.
Okay. If you.
April 5th, a lot of us have children.
Okay.
Is that Easter week?
It is Easter week.
Yeah, Easter week.
Mr. McKevitt, do you know, by the way, rather than come in, if you can email us, we take those into account. We actually read them.
Is there a request form?
You can submit that at the appropriate time, and we'll take everything that you say, whether it's personally done or whether it's in an email or a letter. We read them. We take them all into account.
Can I hand mine in today, since I may not be able to make it on the 5th? Do you have any objection?
No, absolutely.
Any objection, Mr. McKevitt?
No.
Okay.
No, and Mr. Chairman, just if anybody here submitted anything on the comment form online, that is all part of the record. That's in the file. They are all there. We have received plenty of notifications from the neighbors.
And if there's, can I just say, Mr. McKevitt, some of the people indicated they weren't sure they got notice. So besides your normal mailing radius, to the extent anyone here signed in, you'll have their address too, right?
Absolutely.
So if you've not signed in on this case with your address, that's going to form a part of the mailing list Mr. McKevitt will use to send out the letters, to try and schedule something or arrange a way for the groups to get together and figure out if there's a way to make it more palatable for whomever's involved.
Sure.
So that's the original mailing list by statute plus the sign-in sheet here.
Next
And a big
available
sign on the property.
after
Yes.
the 5th.
The next available after the 5th is April 26th,
Okay. 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
April 26, 2 p.m., Mr. Chairman.
You won't get
Okay.
further notice in your mail unless it's sent by Mr. McKevitt, because the legal notice already went out, so, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, everyone, have a good day.
Yes, I do. Let's go back. Let's go back.
Are there any other requests for an adjournment? Patrick?
I do not have any, there's no, okay. Okay, first we have two applications, 16123 Roosevelt Papio Development Corp. Variances, subdivision of lot, front width from and on street line to front setback line, construct dwelling with garage, also known as 85 Beechwood Avenue. We also have case 16223 Roosevelt Papio Development Corp. Variances, subdivision of lot, front width from and on street line to front setback line, construct dwelling with garage, formerly known as 85 Beechwood Avenue. Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair. Robert W. O'Brien, 877 North Corona Avenue, North Valley Stream, New York, for the applicant.
Jed Nelson, 1380 Belmore Avenue, Belmore, New York, as a real estate appraiser, independent.
James Bianco, President, Papio Development, 250 Merrick Road, Rockville Center.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chair, I believe there may have been a couple of neighbors who signed in. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Anybody else interested in this application? We have
Just for swearing them in.
we have Paige Maitland. Is Paige here? And B.B. Robinson. Okay.
Just so it's,
You'll make your application. Someone else?
I'm ready to present my case.
Did you sign in, ma'am? B.B. Robinson, Paige Maitland, Pamela Grant. Okay, the applicant is now going to make the case, after which, if you have anything else to say, we'll call you up and let you testify. Is that okay? Go ahead, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Regano. As noted, I represent the applicant, Papio Development Corp., with respect to
Excuse me, Mr. O'Brien. Can you hear in the back? You're sure? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
With respect to the instant application for a two-lot subdivision, at the outset, I'd like to move to have the two cases consolidated and heard as one.
So moved.
And to my right is real estate expert Jed Nelson, who's prepared to testify regarding the nature and character of the area, and that the benefit of the application to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the surrounding community. Also present, and he's put his appearance on the record. To my left is James Bianco, one of the applicant's principals, to answer any other questions the board may have regarding the application. The property that is the subject of this application is on the north side of Beechwood Avenue in the hamlet of Roosevelt, approximately 90.69 feet east of a street called Wiley Place. It is also known on the Nassau County tax map as Section 55, Block 472, in lots 31 through 35. The parcel as it currently exists is a perfect rectangle with 100 feet of frontage on Beechwood Avenue, 128.54 feet of depth on each side of the property, and a real property line of 100 feet. has an overall area of 12,834 square feet. The applicant proposes subdividing the property and then constructing 2 new one-family dwellings with attached garages on each new parcel. Each new parcel will have 50 feet of frontage on Beechwood Avenue, 128.54 feet of depth on each side, and a rear property line of 50 feet. Each property will have 6,417 feet of area. The only variances needed to subdivide the property and construct either of the proposed new homes is for the subdivision itself and for front width from and on the street line to the front setback line, as the proposed new homes are otherwise zoning compliant. 55. As is my practice, I made a visit to the property and did an inspection of the surrounding area. The homes, for the most part, are on the older side, capes from the 1960s or so, generally in good repair and fairly well maintained. Unlike some areas, there are no boarded up homes or fire damaged homes or anything. It is a nice area. Although I know that Mr. Nelson will cover in his presentation, immediately behind the subject are 2 relatively new large colonials with less width and square footage. These were under, let me back up. Under case numbers 129 of 18 and 130 18, this board granted an entity by the name of ZVG Enterprises, LLC, and using military language, Zulu Victor Golf subdivision approval to maintain an existing house and construct a new dwelling with garages on 40 by 100 properties. I would therefore like to submit as the applicant's relevant paperwork from that application and that grant. And unless the board has any questions of me at this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, you've been qualified by this board as a real estate expert on many occasions. Since the last time you appeared before this board, have any of your credentials changed?
No, sir.
And I'm qualifying you as an expert, a real estate expert in this case as well.
Thank you, sir.
You may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. To do some housekeeping, I have prepared a radius map. It's highlighted and bears grids of self-explanatory as to the immediate area and the neighborhood within a 200-foot radius of the subject property. In addition, I would like to submit a package of photographs that were taken by me on Thursday, February 23rd at 11 a.m. The pictures are of those in the neighborhood, of the houses in the neighborhood surrounding the subject property. In addition, there are radius maps, location maps and aerial maps that are of the immediate area and bear grids of recent variances that were granted in the area, as well as location maps and copies of the variances that were approved.
We'll take those into evidence.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this short, but as there are objectors, I'm going to have to try to just make a record. So, the subject property is located on the north side of Beechwood Avenue, 60 feet west of Astor Place, in the unincorporated hamlet of Roosevelt, part of the town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York. It is also known as 85 Beechwood Avenue, Roosevelt, New York, and designated as Section 55, Block 472, lots 31 through 35 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. The property is presently zoned Residence B by the Town of Hempstead Building Department. The property maintains 100 feet of frontage along Beechwood Avenue with depths of 128.34 feet, containing a total of 12,834 plus or minus square feet. As my research investigation has revealed, the subject parcel is one of the largest lots in this area. There are no other lots of this size on the radius map, and none that can be subdivided as proposed here today. The applicant has proposed to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 building sites. Each will afford 50 feet of frontage along Beechwood Avenue and contain a total of 6,417 square feet in total lot area per parcel, thereby exceeding the minimum lot area requirements for the Residence B zoning district, but being diminished in street frontage at the building line and at the street frontage of approximately 10%, or the equivalent of 5 feet. The uniqueness of the subject neighborhood as it is situated in this area of Roosevelt is that if this application is approved as requested, the subdivided lots will be larger in lot area than 75% of those lots within the 100-foot radius. Additionally, if the subdivided lots would be larger than 72% of the current lots in the 200-foot radius, as well as being 100% larger than any lot of the substandard in this area. And they would be larger in street frontage than 28% of the lots within the 100-foot radius. None of the 14 substandard lots in this immediate area has over 6,000 square feet, and at best, the other 2 lots which abut the subject property to the west afford 5,820 square feet, which equates to approximately a 10% smaller in lot area. Therefore, if this application is approved, the resulting subdivided lots would be larger in lot area than any of the other substantial lots in the 200-foot radius. The 2 recently approved lots to the north of the subject, which were approved, I believe, in 2018, afford 4,000 square feet in total lot area and 40 feet of street frontage. Just to do some housekeeping work, within the 100-foot radius, there are 12 improved lots. 6 of the 12, or 50% of these, have less street frontage than what's required in the Residence B zoning district. 4 of those 6, or 67%, have less street frontage than what's required in the Residence B zoning district and affords less street frontage than what's proposed by this application. 2 of those parcels back to the subject property and front onto Mirren Avenue received variances by this board in 2018 to subdivide and build on a 40-foot by 100-foot lot, which has been done, and I believe those houses have sold. Within the 200-foot radius, there are 36 improved lots. 14 of those 36, or 39%, afford less than the required lot frontage and lot area for what's required in the Residence B zoning district. 10 of the 14, or 71%, afford less street frontage than what's proposed by this application. 14 of the 14, or 100%, have less lot area than the subject property would afford if this application was approved. In addition to the 2 lots abutting the subject property to the north, there are a total of 7 lots that have received variances similar to what is being requested in here today within the 200-foot radius. They have been developed and do not appear to have any adverse effect to the essential character of this neighborhood. They do not seem to offer any burden to the neighborhood as to values or quiet enjoyment. As stated in previous applications, new construction in an existing neighborhood tends to offer a good appeal, an upgrade and revitalization to a neighborhood, generally bringing in new buyers, which helps sustain the existing home prices and demand and aesthetics. if it pleases the board, I have an additional package of variances in addition to the 6 or 7 that are included in my photograph package. Here are approximately 20 or 21 variances that have been approved within a 5 to 6 block radius of the subject property. In an effort to keep this short and not redundant or boring to the board, I will try to wrap this up. As of yesterday, a search for available listings in the 11575 Roosevelt locale revealed that there are currently 19 homes listed for sale on MLS. They range from a low of $335,000 to a high of $719,000. The property listed at $719,000 is a new construction located approximately 5 blocks west from the subject, and it's situated on a 41-foot wide by 121-foot deep lot. According to MLS records, since January 1st of 2021, there have been 216 homes sold in the 11575 zip code. They range from a low of $137,000 to a high of $870,000. The home, which sold for $870,000, is located at 24 William Street. It was a new construction. It sold and closed on December 28th of 2022 and is located approximately 4 blocks west of the subject property. If the board wishes, I have a printout of the MLS listing. Indicates the property has sold. Existing home sales in this area range from a low of $250,000 to a high of over $575,000. Anticipated sale prices for the proposed new construction for this application should be in the neighborhood of $650,000 to $700,000, thereby making the proposed homes some of the highest in the area. It is my professional opinion that the proposed application will not produce an undesirable change to the neighborhood. As demonstrated earlier in my testimony, there are many similar properties throughout the neighborhood. Additionally, the granting of this requested variances will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It will not have any adverse effect on the market value or marketability of any of the existing homes in the area. Conversely, it has been proven that new developments tend to increase the desirability and help support community growth for a neighborhood. All utilities are, including water, sewer, electric, cable service, are available on Beechwood Avenue and will not be a burden for the community. Parking for each of the proposed new constructions will be a one-car garage and a parking pad or driveway suitable for 1 to 2 additional cars. It is my professional opinion that the proposed application makes good sense, offers a very good solution for a need for residential housing in the area without any adverse effect to the existing homes or homeowners, the community, or the district. The proposed application, if approved, offers a good opportunity for good growth, sustained good demand for the area. That's my presentation. If the board has any questions, I'll do my best.
Yes, just before concluding, and I know, I'm sorry, Ms. Sanders. I'll let Mr. Bianco explain.
It's an overhang. It's an overhang from the covered porch.
Okay, and it does not have a side. It's open.
No, it's open. Yeah.
So that runs through the entire front of the house?
Correct.
On the one, side of the house, where the chimney is.
Page 5.
I think it protrudes on that side. It's open on the
Why
other
does it
side.
look like there's a wall there?
A5, the right side elevation.
The side of the chimney.
It's like the roof remains the same.
Yeah, so the garage is bumped out, which is 1 story, and then the roof over covers the front, which is a covered porch.
So it's set back if you, just my hands.
The roof is consistent along. It's an open porch on a portion of it, and then the garage walls are bumped out.
Correct.
It's solid there.
Yes. So the garage is the 1 story, but the roof over carries across to the open porch. That answers the question.
So the garage goes the whole way out?
The garage is bumped out a few feet, 1 story.
Just about all the way. There's a slight
So
overhang.
the garage is over 42 feet?
42 feet. 42-foot garage. Okay.
If, Ms. Adams, if you look at the foundation plan, that would probably explain it a little better.
Was that page 2?
Yes. No, A1.
A1.
You'll see the bump out in the garage.
Just the footprint of where it goes out. But if you look at the elevations, there's a slight overhang past where the garage goes out. But for the most part, the garage goes out almost even with the porch. It's just the porch part's open.
Correct.
And when you get to the garage, that's sort of out, whatever. And that.
Correct. So that gives it like a covered porch in the front.
I noticed that I don't see the part of the basement on the elevations, but usually I can go to the elevations and see, you have a little bit of a basement. I can just see the height. I'm assuming you
The height?
or anything, just to see, like, if you were to look at the elevations right now, you don't even see that there is a basement, but I saw from the floor plan, there is a portion of a basement or something.
Yeah, if you look at page A1, there's a foundation plan that shows the basement,
Yeah,
but not a side view.
No, but there's not on the elevations, but
Yeah.
there is the floor plan.
But generally, we as part of the conditions, Mr. O'Brien will say that the basement will be 7'6".
I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
I generally don't say that, but I know that's the board not just the board rule, so absolutely.
If we see fit. 'Cause
If you
I
see
feel
fit,
a little bit
you
like-
see fit to impose, I'd have a tough time down there, but most normal people wouldn't.
I don't.
Mr. Mon.
I feel like I like the higher height a little bit because I feel like it's safer. But
While we're on that subject, just to be clear, your client will consent to a condition that the dwelling will be owner-occupied upon transfer, and it's to be maintained as a one-family dwelling. Is that right? One doorbell, the whole thing.
Mr. Gano, you got my sum up, because I know one of the concerns in neighborhoods is that somebody's going to come in, buy a house, turn it into 37 illegal apartments, and not even have any connections with the neighborhood.
No cellar entrance on the plans?
No exterior basement entrance,
Okay.
owner-occupied dwelling, and we will accept that as part of the condition, and we will sign and record covenants. Reflecting that, so it can be enforced at any time if somebody who buys it violates those provisions.
good.
That's our case.
That's your case. I'm going to call up the objectants if
Would you
you,
like us to
please,
step back?
please. Ladies?
Anyone else who wants to be heard on this case, come forward, please.
I want them to look at the photos. Just Patrick, could you please show these to the ladies?
That's
Thank
Mr.
you.
Nelson's real estate
Mm-hmm.
report. Let him know. You know what, do we have more than one of those?
Pardon?
Do we have more than one of those?
Oh, sure. One, no.
Yes. Mr. Nelson, did you give us more than one of your real estate reports?
I did not.
Okay,
Okay.
so there's one.
Do you want to take a moment to look at that, ladies, to make sure that it accurately reflects the conditions in the neighborhood? Pardon?
Maybe one of them can talk to us about the other stuff.
All right. Would one of you like to speak while the other two are looking at the photos?
Hi, I'm Paige Maitland. I live at 90 Beechwood Avenue, Roosevelt, New York. I'm directly across the street from the lot. I hate to speak.
Yes.
I'm directly across the street from the lot. My concerns are, there is a telephone pole there, and you're saying you're going to build 2 houses there. Where is the other driveway going to be? The street is not that wide. When you have people parked in front of my house, people parked in front of that house, backing out, you're directly backing out on cars. So when you put 2 families there, as I heard the developer say, people do, no, they're going to rent it out. They're going to rent it out. That's what happens.
Ma'am, that will be a condition, and if you feel at any point in time, now we'll look to you to enforce that, the people in the neighborhood. If you feel that at any point in time, any of these buildings are occupied by more than 1 family, you can come back to this board and we can revoke their grant.
Also, like I said, most of all is the parking in the front of the house. With 2 families there, that's no parking on the block.
2 families there.
If you have 2 houses being built there,
1 in each house.
exactly. So you're going to put, okay, there's an existing driveway right there now for where the old house was. Where is the second driveway going to be?
Look at this. I just had to give you. You can see.
So this is directly coming into my house, my driveway, directly across the street from it.
Each house has a garage and a relatively wide parking pad, but that's why we're giving you this to look at what's proposed. You can take a moment. And I'm not sure where the pole is, but you know better than us.
It's going to be up on this house, right here. Which is directly in front of my house, my driveway. It's hard to explain in a way, because when you come down the block either way to make the turn, even me coming out of my driveway, if somebody just parks across the street, I have to cut my wheel so tight because I can't get out of my driveway.
Well, is there any chance your driveway is directly across from these, because no one can park in front of them then? Might be helpful.
My driveway is this driveway where they're going to put right here, my driveway is right here.
So no one can park on the street there then? That might be better, no?
Unless they park in your driveway.
Right, in the driveway, but there will be no street parking there because there's a curb cut.
You can't have street, but if they want to block their driveway with their car, me coming out of mine, it's very close.
Well, that's not acceptable. I agree.
It's very close.
No, they can't block their.
Because the way the driveway, this driveway here is going to be directly on to where the fence is to this lady's house, which is on Astor Place.
Grant.
Grant.
I saw Grant was on Astor Place. Pamela, I think. Grant, right? Yeah, we saw your house. We looked to see where everyone here who had input was located.
I see.
If that's where you're putting the second. Plus, there's a telephone pole there, right in the dead middle of that land. Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, ma'am? Ms. Maitland?
Wait, so did you find the pole that you were concerned about?
The pole, no, I was saying the telephone pole, because I was wondering, my whole concern was where the driveway is going to be. There's a telephone pole there in the middle where all the wires run on. Right. So I'm saying, how could you build 2 houses with a pole directly in the middle?
Right.
So I guess they're going to be building the houses with them right directly next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the driveways on the sides of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am?
You can take that home, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else?
Who's next? Who's next
No.
to speak?
concerned about parking, so she addressed our concern about
Okay.
parking.
You have nothing else to add?
I want to I just want to understand the style of the house. Is there an underground basement?
There is a basement on the plans, partial basement,
Partial basement underground?
below grade. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And also, I'm sorry. My name is Pamela Grant. My address is 65 Astor Place, Roosevelt.
Turn it to the elevations and she can see the style. And it's all the way to the back usually. Mr. O'Brien, the houses are the same, right?
Oh.
The houses are identical?
They are colonials, three-bedroom colonials.
What it's going to look like on the outside, the style.
Okay, my concern was about the garage as well. I wanted to know, but I think that question was answered when the gentleman addressed it, that the garage is part of the house and it's not a separate area.
Correct.
Internal,
Okay.
yeah.
I think the houses are going to be pretty much close together, but when I look at the houses that are facing Myron Avenue, the back faces that property. They did get a variance to build those two houses there. So I guess that there really can be no objection since those two houses were approved.
There's 20 feet between them.
20 feet between the two houses that are being built, which is practically similar to the two houses facing Myron.
No, I don't believe so, because those houses are on 40 foot by 100. These houses are on 50 feet by 100.
By 128.
So there's more
120.
space there.
These are larger. They're wider than the houses on Mirren. There's more space between them.
There's more space between the houses that are
These two proposed homes.
proposed homes. Okay.
4.
And bathrooms?
How many
You got my
bathrooms?
plans.
2.5.
Okay, and it's 2 stories high, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it does have a partial basement. If you go to the floor plans, there's a little bit of a basement, and you have to read. I can't see. There's first floor, foundation, first floor, and second floor. So there is a small section that has like a laundry facility and a boiler and stuff down below. They've agreed to no exterior entrance, so that doesn't, like, some subsequent buyer doesn't unknowingly or inappropriately convert it to some kind of living space. And then there's the 2 levels of the living space.
Okay, one other question I have is, I have a fence in my backyard, which is on the side, the length of that house. How many feet from the fence would be that first house that is being built? 10 feet.
10 from the property line, not from your house. Your house looks
From the
to be,
right, from,
your house looks to be about maybe 15, I'm estimating, away, and then there's 10 more
10
from
feet.
that house line. So 10 from your fence, if your fence on the
and from my fence.
if it's on the property line, which I assume it is.
Let me see if I have another question, please. I'm just going to make a comment. That is a very big piece of property, okay? But putting the houses side by side seems to, they're like 2 big houses, and it's just like an overwhelm. Like, my house is a smaller house. My house is a Cape Cod. And it's going to be, like, very overwhelming. These 2 big houses, and everyone on the top floor would be looking into my kitchen, So if they were being built side by side, I could understand that because there's more room to put 2 houses, but unfortunately, there wouldn't be an entrance to the house if you put them side by side.
It's called a flag lot, which
Right.
the zoning frowns upon.
So, I'm concerned because they're so close together, and 10 feet, it's not a lot of feet from one.
No, you're,
By the way.
yeah.
Sorry?
No, it's 10 feet off the property line, not 10 feet away from
Off
your
the
house.
property line, which,
Yes.
which would be like where my fence is.
Yes, if your fence is on the property line.
So from the
Or
fence-
25 feet from your house.
25 feet from my house. Well, those are my concerns, and also that we hope that it doesn't turn out to be rentals, because we are right now very pressed for parking space
I'm going to
on Beechwood and on Astor.
I'll repeat what I said earlier. The developer has acknowledged that when he sells the houses, they're to be owner occupied. If that changes at any point in time, you have the right to come in here. If there are going to be illegal rentals there, you have the right to come in here. You can complain, and we have the ability to revoke that grant.
It has to be the owner living there and single family. And if you see anything indicating anything different than that, you would call either the building department, have them come check, because these conditions will be on file, and Mr. O'Brien has agreed on behalf of the applicant to file them to run with the land. So it's not like someone sells it and they're like, oh, you know, nope, they run with the land, they stay with that house always.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pardon? Mr. O'Brien? No, that's not.
I believe the board picked up on it, but I just wanted, for clarification, I have a plot plan here, and you know, a lot of times the board will ask applicants to flip houses so the driveways are side by side. They mentioned it, and they're absolutely right about it. The telephone pole is right in the middle. It's almost right where the property line is going to be, so therefore the driveways have to be on the other ends of the property, and I marked it up, and one driveway exists right now, so there'll be one new driveway. It won't be a change to whatever the pattern is in the neighborhood.
Mr. O'Brien, may I ask you, I think the driveways line up well, actually, for the issue that is there.
Yes.
I can't tell by looking at it. I know you have one garage each. How many cars do you estimate can park on the, I can't tell if it's 2 or 4.
What do you think? Ms. Bianco would be the one. Probably.
Each driveway.
Right? How many cars park on each property?
So you got 1 garage, 2 cars, okay.
Right.
4 bedrooms, so you should be able to get by with that amount without really clogging the streets up. Like, every neighborhood in Long Island has the same problem. 10 Hempstead.
Yeah,
It's everywhere. And so we do, I'm glad you're prudent about it.
With no question about it.
After all, this isn't Queens.
Okay.
Hey, that's your case.
That's our case.
Do I have any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Bianco, all of you ladies who signed in on the case, you will receive a copy of the board's decision in the mail, which you can keep if you need it in the future also. Thank you. Have a nice day, and thanks for participating. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Yes.
Next, we have cases 16423 Franklin Square, Matthew Silberswig and Benedetto Bianco. Variances, subdivision of lot area, front yard setbacks on Tulip Avenue and Lexington Avenue. Construct dwelling lot B, demolish existing dwelling, also known as 1045 Tulip Avenue. We also have case 16523 Franklin Square, Matthew Silsbergwig and Benedetto Bianco. Variances, subdivision of lot area, construct dwelling lot A, east side of Lexington Avenue, 50 feet south of Tulip Avenue. So Brian, I have you sworn in.
I'm sworn up.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Take a seat. State your name and address for the record.
For the applicant, once again, Robert W. O'Brien, 877 North Corona Avenue, North Valley Stream, New York.
It's Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmore, New York, 11710. Good afternoon.
next case. Michael Milio, Karen Milio, and Joanne Herman. Can you hear what the applicant is saying? If you can't, you can move closer. All right?
Yes, as indicated today, at this hearing, I represent Matthew Silbersweig and Ben Bianco with respect to the instant two-lot subdivision. At the outset, I'd like to move to have the two cases consolidated and heard as one.
So moved.
As he put his appearance on the record, to my right is real estate expert Barry Nelson, who's prepared to testify regarding the nature and character of the area, and that the benefit of the application to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the surrounding community. Ben and Matter to my left, the applicant's principals, to answer any questions the board may have of them. The subject property is on the southeast corner of Tulip Avenue and Lexington Place in the hamlet of Franklin Square. It is also known on the Nassau County tax map as Section 33, Block 385, and lots 33 to 36. The parcel as it currently exists is a perfect rectangle with 80.04 feet of frontage on Tulip Avenue, 100 feet of frontage on Lexington Avenue, a southerly property line of 80.04 feet, and an easterly property line of 100 feet. It therefore has an overall area of 8,004 square feet. And the applicant proposes constructing two new one-family homes on the property. The first case is 164 is for permission to construct a dwelling on the north side of the property on a parcel with 4,002 square feet of area. The variances needed for that property are subdivision of lot area, and front yard setbacks on both Tulip Avenue and Lexington Avenue. The existing dwelling, and I'll put dwelling with quotation marks, will be demolished if these cases are granted. The reason why is
it should be a structure instead of
it's a structure. To use my father's parlance, who was in the beer business for years, it's been a gin mill for a long time.
It was formerly known as the Pit Stop at one point. Many years ago.
The neighbors have been telling me about the Italian restaurant and some of the other places that have been there over the years. And but right now it is a this is the Starving Artist Cafe? Right, okay. The second application, case 165, is to construct a dwelling on the south side, also on a parcel of 4,000 square feet. And the only variance is needed for that part of the property is for subdivision of lot and lot area. Although Mr. Nelson will be addressing the nature and character of the area in his presentation, I wish to point out to the board, as I just did, that there is a legal bar and grill, which all my life I remember going by there, and I'll be 69 in June, so it's been a bar and grill for a long time. And I was never thrown out of it, Mr. Nelson. And under the current New York State liquor laws, I think the board is aware that it can operate and serve alcohol to 2 a.m. It can operate as a restaurant really 24/7. And also, nothing prevents them from having garbage pickup and delivery. So if the board were to grant the instant applications, I think one of the benefits to surrounding residential properties would be that the property would never, ever be used again as a bar and grill, or at least legally so. And unless the board has any questions of me at this point, I'll turn the case over to Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. I did hand in some exhibits for the board to review. 25 photographs of the subject property and the surrounding uses, aerial view, location map, some comparable sales, and some grants that were in the neighborhood within the 200-foot radius of the subject property. Council's gone over the case substantially, and the crux of the case is you're going to remove an onerous type use and structure and put up 2 single-family colonial houses. The area character, New Hyde Park Road, is business, commercial. There's a service station that was formerly a service station, now a BP gas and convenience store, in the subject block at the southwest corner of New Hyde Park Road and Tulip Avenue. There's a Tulip Catering Deli at the northwest corner. New Hyde Park Road is strictly business. There are some non-conforming single-family homes. Regardless, the application is to construct 2 single-family homes. There are 40 by 100s, and there's some smaller parcels in the area. The property just to the east of the subject property is a 40 by 100. You'll find, if you look at the radius map, on Admont Avenue, Pasquale Avenue, Atlantic Street to the south. In fact, at the dead end on the southerly side, you have 2 40s and a parcel with a 35-foot frontage. And in the business zone, a 2-family home on approximately 6,000 square feet. The southwest corner of Lexington Avenue and Atlantic Street has 2 40 by 100s, and they are part of the neighborhood. They make up the neighborhood. I provided the file cards at the Board of Appeals on the north side of Atlantic Street, west of Lexington Avenue. 3 variances. That would be, let me see, I don't think you have the addresses on them, but they would be the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th houses west of the corner on the north side of Lexington Avenue. The first house is a 45 by 100, the next 2 are 40 by 100s. So it's my opinion the granting of this application for lot area, again, it's a Residence C zone for the subject property, 50 feet at the street is required, 50 is provided. The lot area is 4,000 square feet, so it's consistent with the majority of the homes found in the area. On the northerly side of Tulip Avenue, you do have some oversized parcels. They do not lend themselves to a subdivision. Again, this would be taken away an onerous use on the property and providing a better quality, a better single-family house to the adjacent neighbors. The photographs that I took will depict the subject property and the surrounding uses as of within the last 2 weeks. The last variance sought would be the front yard setbacks. It is a corner parcel. In the residency zone, the requirement would be 20 feet on Lexington Avenue and Tulip Avenue. It does come up with a greater average front yard setback. I'm not sure. I think there was an error in processing that average setback in that they included a separate zone, the gas station, which is set back approximately almost 50 feet. So that little skews the average front yard setbacks. But if you look at the houses just to the east of the subject property, one is at 16 feet, the next one is at 19. The applicant is proposing 15 feet on the easterly side of the dwelling, 13.7, and that would be on Tulip Avenue, 16.5. At that location, you still have concrete sidewalks and curbs, and you got at least another 10 feet to the actual asphalt paved street access. So it's my opinion the granting of the requested front yard setbacks on both streets is not going to be harmful to the community. It still has concrete sidewalks and curbs. If you look at some of the other parcels, other corners, and just in the immediate vicinity, the southwest corner of Lexington Avenue and Atlantic Street has approximately a 10-foot setback. There, in the block just to the west, and that would be at the at the southeast corner of Tulip Avenue and Herman Boulevard, which would be the first street west of Lexington. There is a commercial building. It's a non-conforming building with less than the required setbacks for a corner parcel. I'll hand in a picture, and it's known as 1095 Tulip Avenue in Franklin Square. Again, it would be just a block to the west of the subject property. It's in the community. It's just outside the radius, but it exists without any harm to the surrounding community. It is a commercial building in a residential zone, non-conforming. That said, the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the surrounding community. 2 new one-family colonials would sell for approximately $840,000 to $850,000 at this location. That's a new colonials. I provided comps where they are away from the main arterial road, which Tulip Avenue is kind of a busy through street. They do have greater values of $900,000 to $950,000. Taking into consideration The location, it's my opinion, $850,000 is a fair number. The property, as the current use, as it's improved, would be worth approximately $600,000. One building lot, $375,000, so it tends to be a, if this application is not granted, would be maintained as a commercial use, or approximately $300,000 to $325,000 for each lot if approved. That would an aggregate value of about $650,000 plus the construction of the houses. In my opinion, the applicants would yield anywhere from $120,000 to $130,000 on each on gross profit. That combined outweighs any detriment to the adjacent property owners, which would be a 40 by 100 to the east and a 50 by 100 to the south. I believe I've covered what the board would.
Mr. O'Brien, there appear to be no garages?
No.
No garages. So where are they going to park? Okay. How many cars can you park in the driveway? Yeah, on each lot. Okay. Go right ahead.
Can I ask the obvious question? Why
Why?
are there no garages?
Size of the property.
We didn't want to build on the main road. You know, if we would
For the record, your name?
Ben Benedetto Bianco, 668 Plato Street, Franklin Square, New York. The owner of the property, one of the owners. If we were to put the houses on the main road, we would be able to put garages, but then we'd have to deal with traffic and
Backing out.
I think with the gas station nearby and with the traffic on Tour, which is also a county road, I don't know if the neighbor would be crazy about that. I think it would be a danger that close to the intersection with Lehigh Park Road.
Okay.
If there's a side stoop, if we push that stoop out, maybe we could put the stoop back and then we'd fit a third car, make the driveway longer. We could do that.
How many bedrooms in each house?
How many what?
Bedrooms.
There's 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms. Anything else you want to ask?
You know, Mr. O'Brien, I just can't help but harken back to Mr. Levine.
What's that?
Right.
She can't help but harken back to Mr. Levine
With the garage.
under the title of A Blast from the Past.
It's sort of ironic, though. You know, you have the legal bar and grill there, which has a lot of parking in the back, and the parking's a problem. And now we're talking about putting a residence in, and parking is a problem in the other direction. And I think it's the trade-off. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Obviously, if people were to park not on the, well, let me jump ahead and I'll work back. Jumping ahead, of course, is, and we spoke about in the last case, the applicants will accept a condition of owner occupancy. So with owner occupancy, and they'll be used solely as a one-family dwelling, I don't know how many cars will be there, but they certainly won't be parking on Tulip Avenue. If they park in a neighborhood, they'll park there as anybody else would. But I think the trade-off on the parking is what I would hang my hat on, getting rid of the commercial 24/7 establishment in favor of 2 residences. And by the way, if I may also, and I don't mean it to sound like I'm not answering your question, because we can continue the discussion. But my clients went out and knocked on the door of the neighbors, and I have 4 consents. You'll see it's right on the notice, so you can't say, no one could say they didn't know what they were agreeing to and consenting to it. And in there are the 2 most affected, which is, I hope I pronounced the last name right, Liparata, which is adjacent on Tulip Avenue, and Sestaro, which is adjacent on Lexington.
We'll take those into evidence.
Sure.
Sure.
Yes, Ms. Adams. two parking spots on each property, and Mr. Bianco had indicated you might be able to do something with the stoop where you could make 3, but you know, I think on the southerly house, not on the northerly house. No, there's not. Nobody's going to go into Tulip. Yes. They're going to park front, you know, one in front of the other.
There's on the right side. There's driveways on the right.
Right.
Side. Right side. If you look at the house, there's a driveway on the right. Each right side, there's a driveway. And
Are the houses going to be identical?
Yes. Same house.
That's identical.
I'm sorry. I said back to back. I apologize, Ms. They're side by side. Yeah. My error. I apologize. No.
Mr. O'Brien, I have a dumb question. We had it on the last one, and I'm sure it's just, so outside the house, like along the driveway and going back to half the house, I'll use, which lot is this? I think they're the same. There's what I'm guessing is some sort of little curb around it. So it'd be on the sides of both sides of the driveway, up to the stairs, and then it goes down back along the side. Is that Tim?
That's part of the driveway and the
curbing.
Yeah.
On the right.
It was on the other house too.
Yes.
I know the other case.
Right. I think that's the curbing for the driveway.
That's why you can pull 2 cars in tandem.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Not till we hear from the other folks.
You have anything else, Mr. O'Brien?
At this time.
We have 3 people who have signed in, not indicating they're in favor or opposed. Would any of you like to speak? Okay, please come up.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jeannie Herman. Yes.
Did you swear them?
Oh, please stand. My name is Jeannie Herman. I live at 1059 Tulip Avenue. My backyard, our driveway on Lexington, just off Tulip, looks at the driveway of the current bar, restaurant, Starving Artist Cafe.
She's here.
Feels so official today. So I just had a couple of things to say. That Tulip Avenue, at one point my husband's family owned a farm. It was the last farm to close in Franklin Square. And almost all of Tulip Avenue, a good portion of it, was zoned commercial. So it was not residential. The small businesses that are just east on Tulip, off of Herman Boulevard, that somebody previously was speaking about, those buildings have been there for about 100 years. So whatever buildings were there, just like Starving Artist Cafe, we had a farm. The farm was in. There was a driveway. There was, the grassy spot off the street, and you had the sidewalk, and then you had the business. But the houses themselves were set back maybe 15, 20 feet away from the street. Now, more recently, homes have gone up, and they've been closer to the street, leaving less space. So my concern is that what amount of space is there going to be for just seeing to come around that corner on from Tulip Avenue, either going west or east to go south on Lexington Avenue? I looked at a drawing. I thought I had a picture of the drawing, and it says 10 feet. Now, I don't know, is that 10 feet of grass, and then there's a sidewalk, and then there's a little more grass till the curb? Because presently, I think there's got to be at least 15 feet and then a sidewalk, and then a grassy space, and then you've got the curb and the street. And there is no parking on from at least, I think, all of Tulip Avenue on the south side. There is no parking there. So if somebody were to move into those homes, that's not a viable option. And I don't believe there's parking on the north side of Tulip either, because there's just commercial, and there's no commercial on the north side of Tulip. It's only commercial on the south side of Tulip. And I only know that because the Herman family, Herman Boulevard was named after my husband's family. We had the farm, and the Herman family, big family, had a lot of individual farms in Franklin Square, but they were not north of Tulip Avenue. They were from Hempstead Turnpike to Tulip Avenue.
I think if I can point out one answer, which may be more evident, you may have that in front of you.
Okay.
The proposed structure closest to Tulip is set 13.7 feet, and that's after the curb, the sidewalk, and then 13 feet 7 inches more, or 13.7 feet, I should say.
Okay,
Slightly
this is a different.
And the other one off of Lexington is there's the road, the curb, the sidewalk, and then 16 and a half more feet. So I think the visibility moving from Tulip to Lexington either way is probably certainly adequate in answer to that question, at least.
Okay. I know right now, I would say about 10 or 15 feet off of Tulip has got a sign, no parking on both sides of the street right now.
Oh, the street parking. I was only referring to the structure being in the way.
No, okay, but yeah, that's correct. The structure, I guess that.
Okay, and that's good. There's no parking on the street there.
Yeah, there's no parking on those two sides for the first like 15 feet. Good. Because you can't. I mean, my front lawn is all open. There is no. You know, I live in an old colonial home. It was there since like 100 years ago, so it's all open. But the other side, if the house was coming up right to that corner, you won't be able to see around.
No, it's not.
And also, I'd like to know what the square footage of each of these houses are. Are they going to be a colonial home?
That's one.
I'd like to know if you have that, because if it's going to be a high ranch, then high ranches tend to be a big block, and that's really going to change the feeling of the neighborhood.
These homes, if you look at the plans, the homes should be about 1,200 square feet per floor.
Right. 1,200
square feet, 30 by 40. 30 by 43. A little over 1,200 square.
Okay. Okay. And how many bathrooms will there be in those homes?
You took my plans. If you page it one more back.
Told you.
On previous page?
Oh. 2.5 bathrooms in each dwelling, ma'am.
Okay.
You can take a moment and look at it if you want. Do you see they're labeled like first floor, second floor? If there's a label below, I can't tell from here, but see first floor, second floor, so you can see. Yeah, just say it in there so she can record it. Wait, it's not on. Start over again and let the court reporter put it down so we have it on the record.
Karen Milio, 1039 Tulip Avenue, Franklin Square. Is there going to be a basement in these?
I'd have to look at the plans, to be honest.
It's going to be a finished basement.
Mr. O'Brien, is there a basement? Is it finished?
No. Unfinished basement. Okay, unfinished basement. Thank you.
Katura.
Okay. I think that's all we have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for participating.
Thank you very much.
Glad to share a little history.
It's always nice to know.
I fell in love with my husband thinking one day we raise our...
You'd have that big farm and, sorry.
gonna
Mr.
do?
Regano's
We're
from the...
still married, though, 42 years later.
Mr. Regano's from the same neighborhood, you know. He loves that area.
Mr. O'Brien.
Actually, just taking a minute, her husband there was a pansy farm there. It was so beautiful every spring, and our family used to go down and buy flowers for the house. So it was nice to finally meet the people who owned it. Really is. Just one thing, and I think it was clarified, but I just want to make sure, and that is where that first driveway is off of Tulip Avenue. If you look at the setback of the house, and then the driveway is towards the southerly part of the property, it's at least 30 feet off of Tulip Avenue. So it's a fairly good distance. And as I said, the concern seems to be in most areas about illegal occupancy, illegal multiple dwellings, and my client will accept the owner-occupied one family only. And I know, as the chair indicated to the people in the previous case, that'll be encompassed in covenants that will run with the land and can be enforced by people in the neighborhood by coming to the board. If somebody were to buy an $800,000 house and then decide to do something stupid like that. Okay, that's my case.
I just want to make it clear. It is a colonial, 4-bedroom, upstairs. It's not a high ranch. It's a one-family house.
Right.
And your client will consent to owner-occupancy?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Any other questions? Do you want me to?
Any questions? And, well, they're leaving, so I would assume.
Mr. Chairman,
there are
I would
no other
move that the hearing be
questions.
closed, the matter be placed on decision calendar. Mr. O'Brien, you, your clients, Mr. Nelson, and everyone else who signed in on this case, you will all receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it is rendered. Have a nice day. Everyone safe home.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Because you know what comes next? There's a bunch of sheds to put your shit in. Because you have a garage. Shh.
Next, we have case 16623, Inwood, Yeshiva Kol Torah. Variances, lot area occupied, front yard setback on Bayswater Boulevard, side yard, rear yard. Variance in off-street parking to maintain 2 detached classroom trailers in conjunction with the existing synagogue, also known as 44 Bayswater Boulevard. Please stand. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yep.
Take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. Christian Brown, 1122 Franklin Avenue, Garden City. For the applicant, I'll ask my clients to put their names and addresses on the record.
David Apachinsky, 1050 Moore Place, Woodmere, New York, 11598.
Baruch Wasser, 903 Plainview Avenue, Far Rockaway, New York, 11691.
All right, good afternoon. This is an application concerning property at 44 Bayswater Boulevard in Inwood. This is an existing religious school that is located in what was formerly a synagogue, and about 2 years ago, 18 months ago was converted with the permission of the building department, Acting Commissioner Jowitz, into a small religious school which currently has 37 students. The interior of the building, however, it's, as I said, it's an old synagogue, and it is a rental property. It's meant for provisional use by this school. It's their first home, and the interior of the school is not super conducive, let's say, to the needs of the layout you'd want for classrooms. They are tenants. They're tenants looking for a permanent home, but this has given them a foothold to establish their school. The synagogue went out of business, essentially, so this has been able. This is a way to continue the Jewish religious use with this school as the tenant. No, I'll come to that. The intention is to move to a permanent location, which would better serve the needs of the school from a physical layout standpoint. And the reason I raise that is because what brings us here is the application to maintain these two trailers, which are side-by-side. They form two side-by-side classrooms that have been placed adjacent to the building and serve as extra classroom space for the school. Well, I can ask the rabbi to explain exactly what drives it, but essentially, as I said, this was a synagogue. It's not really laid out for a school, and this allows them to have two proper classrooms to accommodate the students and the teachers, and to allow their schedule alternates between secular classes and religious classes, and this facilitates that switch-off function. Do you have a question, Chairman?
Go ahead. How many students will occupy each trailer, maximum?
Yeah, how many students are in each class? That's one classroom per trailer. And can you explain, Rabbi, how many students are typically in the trailers?
20 desks in each classroom. That's
20.
Right.
So the house structure is not being used for the school?
We have minor classes taking place in there, prayers in the morning, and dining facility in there.
So it's just dining and since all the classes basically can be.
Right.
So does anyone live in that house?
No.
And you have offices in there in addition to space for prayer, dining, and some other ancillary functions, correct?
Correct.
As I said, it looks like a house, but it was formerly a synagogue, and I think it was a synagogue for many, many decades, correct?
Still have prayers there throughout the week.
Yeah.
So, again, their tenant here, this has given them a place to establish their school. They're using these two trailers as classroom space. As I said, there are currently 37 students in the school. This is the two classrooms, as has been explained. Their staff is quite small also. There's 3 full-time staff members who are administrators, essentially, correct? And then there's 10 part-time faculty. As you are familiar, you know from other applications, and as I mentioned, part of the day is devoted to secular learning, part to religious learning. So at any one time, there's about 3 to 4 employees on site because the religious and the non-religious alternate on and off. The staff has been, this has been going on, as I said, for about 18 months. And the staff parks in the neighborhood. They have never parked on site. It generates about 5 to 6 cars at a time. The students are age 14 to 17. None of them drive, and none are permitted to drive. So there will be no students do not generate any traffic to the site.
So the trailers have been there for that 18 months?
Roughly.
Only 9 months.
9 months. 9 months. They were installed about 9 months ago.
So before that, they were operating the school, I guess, in the structure, the permanent structure. And since they're looking for a different location, is this a request on a temporary basis?
Yes. Yes. What I would like to request is that the board grant permission to maintain these trailers through the next school year, which would be the 2024 school year. They hope to be out of there by that time, with leave to apply to renew that or extend that if there is a problem, finding a permanent home. They are actively looking. They've been already actively looking. They've consulted me about a couple of sites already. So I've explained that these are temporary. These, by their nature, are temporary structures. I've explained, and they understand that this would be an accommodation to a religious use to continue their teaching and religious mission, but that at a certain point the trailers cannot remain there in perpetuity. So what we would propose again is to go to say July of 2024, and at that point, hopefully, the grant would no longer be necessary. If there becomes a problem or a delay, I would just like leave to be able to write to the board and request an extension or a continuation of the hearing if necessary at that time.
How many, would you find it acceptable that if it were to be granted, it would be solely to these applicants? It's not transferable?
Yes, yes, and we've discussed that as well, that this would not be something that could be marketed as, you know, to be used by a successor who would have to, if they wanted them, they would have to make their own application.
So we would, in essence, be thinking, okay, temporary grant to that date certain.
Correct.
With, and then you would just come in and request to continue.
If necessary, I would make a further application for an extension of time if it was needed to give the school additional time to move out of the premises.
And when they find have a second means of egress.
Yes. I believe it's still owned by the synagogue, the religious corporation. Yes, we would. I mean, we will obviously cease to use them, and yes, they will agree to remove the trailers. Yeah, correct. That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Can't tell.
They're going to be removed.
Yes, they will be removed.
Second means of ingress and egress.
There's an entrance on both sides of the there's an entrance on both sides, I don't know, north,
I just can't find the plans.
Yeah.
I figured I'd just ask.
There are two entrances, one on each end of the double trailer. I don't know.
Those aren't really plans.
There is you should have a set of plans that shows a section of the trailer. In fact, it's on the site plan, actually. There's a section. And you can see on the lower drawing on the site plan, the east side elevation, it shows two means of egress.
But there's not like plans, right? Or there are, and I just can't find them.
I'm not sure.
I mean, like floor plans, and I have basically elevations. You're right.
Is there a partition?
I don't know what was submitted.
I'm not sure if there are construction type plans in your file,
Like I
but
just
there
have
are.
elevations, but not, usually I have, floor plan, how it's laid out, and elevations. So I do have on the site plan elevations.
So there are two means of egress, and then the floor plan is just the open space that's shown on the little diagram to the right side. There's 20 desks in each room and a place for the teacher.
So there's no partition between the two trailers? That's just one big open space?
There's a wall between them.
That way, it's a horizontal wall.
It divides horizontally. It's one in the back, one in the front.
It's here and here.
And there is a doorway between the two?
There's no doorway.
No. So each one of them has each trail. Can I see that, Patrick? Could you?
There's a door.
Each classroom entrance.
Oh, yeah, so there is a door.
This is the front. No, each has one.
There is a door.
There's a door in the front and the door in the back.
We see that, but there's only one, so there's a means of access in between
Yes.
the door.
You meant like with the
Okay.
walls, though.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can only get in and out of one side.
Because the photos only show the ones too.
Classroom.
So each section, if the wall is
Oh, yeah.
permanent.
No, there is a door. So they have access here, they can exit here.
So the
and
wall has a
They
door
can
in it.
exit there.
The wall has a door in it.
Yeah.
They can install you can install a door, correct, in between the two.
Well, there appears to be one on
There
the
is one.
thing he handed up.
Oh, on those plans,
There
We
is
just
one.
don't have that, but he handed it up, and
Yeah.
it shows a door in the wall separating, which would make it.
There should, I don't know if the building department has reviewed it for code compliance, but we can accept a condition that door shown there be installed, if it is not there, so that you can pass through.
Are they code compliant the way they are? Aside from passing
They were installed with footings and so forth, correct?
I mean, the structure itself is sprinkled or something like that, or?
I don't know if sprinkles are required, but it was installed with footings and a base, and we can add the door so that everybody can access the front and the rear entrance.
There's windows. Windows all along the, I just brought these pictures all along the
See on
side.
the elevations, one side seems to have windows.
Yeah, there's windows all along,
4 windows on one side, right? The other
2
side.
in each classroom.
2 in each.
Yeah,
And each door has a window as well. So that's what we're looking to do. I won't, there are some technical variances which are laid out. I can go through them quickly. Actually, you have them on my site plan, so.
Yeah, be my guest.
But my notes are on the site plan that you.
Oh.
This one?
Yes. But I think Mrs. Adams had a question. Yes.
There are 37 children there now.
Correct.
Is that going to be the maximum?
For next year, how many students do you anticipate for?
Well, there's 50 for the following year. We're not going to be adding. It's going to be using these trailers and going back to using some of the building as.
Okay, so there are 37, 22, 23 school year, and then 23, 24, there are 50 students.
Correct.
Okay. And the other thing, Mr. Brown, is
yes.
When they do find a new home and they are gone, what period of time will those trailers be removed?
We could agree to have them removed within 30 days of vacature.
All right. Thank you.
And then just for the record, the trailers have been analyzed under the Residence C zoning requirements, although this is a religious and educational use, so I can run through the setbacks if you'd like. There are rear yard. The notice requires rear yard, side yard, lot area, front yard setback, and parking. Just running through it quickly. Again, this is a Residence C district. The rear yard is proposed at 4 feet 7 inches, where 15 feet is required. And I should note there's basically a vacant lot right behind it that's attached to a house behind. Side yards are proposed at 5 feet, where the typical is 10 on one, 5 on the other. There's one side yard here. I don't know why that's. I'm sorry. Oh, it's because it's a corner. I'm sorry. So, I guess they're counting. I understand. The rear yard here is counted from Elm back, if you look on the plan, and the side yard is actually behind the trailer.
So it's 5 instead of 5.
Correct.
Then why would you need side yard relief?
I don't know why they denied it that way, actually, to tell you the truth. But the rear yard is 5 feet. The side yard is 5 feet.
The rear yard, you said 4.7.
I'm sorry, 4.7. That's right. And then the side yard.
Lot area occupied and parking.
Correct. The lot area occupied is at. I'm sorry. The lot area occupied is now 40.22, where 35% is required in the Residence C, and the parking analysis is done. It's outlined for you on the chart. It's done based on the requirements for a school. Basically, there were, as a school use, just the building, there were 33 parking spaces required. That's already been waived and approved on at a prior application, I think back when it was a synagogue from 2016. The trailers, according to the calculations, require an additional 16 spaces for the trailer use, but that's based on the assumption that there are additional students being added in the space. That's not the case here. It's the same number of students.
And you have 0 for that 16, same, right, waiver.
Correct. So we would have 0. I've already explained that it's just staff parking. The students don't drive, and it's the same number. So we're not adding additional students on top of what was calculated for the school building.
And then your front yard.
And the front yard setback is required at 20, and it is
25. No corner.
On Bayswater. Is it 20? Is it 25 in the? I think it might be 20 in the Residence C. and then it's on Bayswater Boulevard, which is where the trailers protrude. It's 3 feet because they come out close to the property line.
You only need it on one of the fronts?
Correct. Just on Bayswater Boulevard where the trailers are located. The other dimension, the 21 feet 8 inches, is to the existing building.
Mr. Brown, I've been informed by Ms. Dawn here that the reason you decided your relief when you're proposing 5 is that you actually required, since it's not residential, so it's not dwelling, you need 15 on the side.
Ah. Yes. In fact, that's going to come up in another case. Okay. Anything except a house. And so that's our case. So you understand the need for it. We understand the temporary nature of it. If we could have the relief to that period of time with the stipulation that we would have them removed within 30 days of vacature and just a leave to extend an application if there's a hardship in moving, we would accept those conditions.
And there's no, we're not talking about doing anything but school there.
Strictly school.
Other religious events except that which goes with school.
Correct. There's no special events or no. No, this is just a school with very, very limited activities other than praying and doing academics.
Do they have any outdoor space to use as part of the school? We've had cases before where they had this strange requirement. You have to have a certain amount of outdoor space.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't calculate that in here. You know, there's lawn space around the building. I don't think they particularly.
Big football field a block away, the boys use all the time.
Yeah, they don't really have a need here to use the outdoor.
Yeah, we said, I think you know, a couple of times that came up, like not enough space outdoor.
Yes, there are provisions in the educational chapter of the code, which sort of conflicts with the religious chapter of the code, but sometimes it gets applied. But anyway, here, no, nothing besides academics goes on here. And that's our case.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on decision calendar. Mr. Brown, you, your clients, anyone else who signed in on the case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. It's up to you. Aye.
In favor? Aye.
Next, we have case 16723, Oceanside. Smart ABC Oceanside LLC. Special exception for proposed parking lot accessory to adjacent Wholly Fresh and not in compliance with adjoining property. Also known as 3427 Long Beach Road. Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You got it?
I do.
Please take a seat, state your name and address for the record.
Dominic Minerva, Minerva and D'Agostino, 107 South Central Avenue, Valley Stream, New York, attorney for the applicant.
I am Elisa Angela Cavalcante. My address 3411 Long Beach Road, Oceanside.
Good afternoon. The application before you today is for a special permit to permit the construction of a parking lot. Subject premises is located at 3427 Long Beach Road in Oceanside. It's known as Section 43, Block 189, tax lots 53 through 56 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Subject premises is located in the business zone. Subject premises is located on Long Beach Road, adjacent to the premises known as 3411 Long Beach Road in Oceanside. The premises at 3411 Long Beach Road has recently been renovated into a Wholly Fresh farmer's market, essentially a small boutique supermarket, and received a certificate of occupancy in January of 2023 and opened for business in February of 2023.
What is that certificate of occupancy? How does that read, please?
Yeah, I'm going to submit a copy into the record, but it just reads tenant fit out, partitions, plumbing, ductwork, and electric. So it really interior alteration, because they renovated the old retail building, which I think was 2 tenant spaces, into one Wholly Fresh market, which was essentially an interior alteration or tenant fit out permit. That's going to be applicant's exhibit A.
That's sufficient parking then for the current use.
Yes, so the, per code, it is. So the building's 3,200 square feet, 1 per 200 for retail, 16 spaces. It does have 16 spaces, 15 regular and 1 handicap. Okay. The principals of the tenant, Holy Fresh Oceanside LLC, who opened the farmer's market, acquired title to the adjacent property at 3,427 Long Beach Road, which is the subject of this application. There was formerly a building used for auto accessory parts and installation, which was demolished prior to my client acquiring title. Although my client only leases the farmer's market parcel, they are seeking permission to improve the adjacent vacant land as additional off-street parking to be utilized solely in connection with the farmer's market at 3,411 Long Beach Road, and is asking this board for approval to do so. As I stated, the adjacent building does not require this parking for code, but the applicant believes that the additional parking will be much needed for the new farmer's market to thrive and be successful. I'm also going to submit some photographs, applicant's Exhibit B, of the farmer's market and the adjacent parcel. And as you can see from the photographs, the applicant invested significant funds into renovating this market, and it's a nice addition to the area. The subject premises at the farmer's market provide 16 spaces, which I stated meets code, and this would provide an additional 18 spaces. This is an area of Long Beach Road where there is no on-street parking and no municipal lots. So if there is any additional demand for parking, there is nowhere nearby for anyone else to park, and it is a supermarket, so you're going to be coming out with groceries. So if that lot is full, there's literally nowhere else that anyone can park to patronize this business.
So, Mr. Minerva, the parking lot is going to be used solely for your client's use. You're not going to rent out spaces? Or
Correct.
Sometimes that happens.
Correct. And willing to accept any reasonable conditions on the use of that lot solely as limited to the patrons of the adjacent Holy Fresh Market. And right now they have a 10-year lease on the Holy Fresh Market. So it'll be a minimum of the next 10 years. Obviously that lease can be renewed, but minimum of the next 10 years that they will be in there operating, this applicant operating that market and owning the parking lot next door. As the board is aware, the parking requirement for retail does not distinguish between the different type of retail uses, and as stated, the applicant believes that with the market, additional parking is necessary. And as I stated, we'll accept any conditions, reasonable conditions, limiting this lot to the use of the market, and my client does intend to install signage indicating both Holy Food Market parking only, and all others will be towed.
Mr. Minerva, what's across the street?
So there is a shopping center across the street. Let me just pull out my radius map.
What is it?
So there's a shopping center across the street. It's multiple tenants. One of them is actually Trader Joe's.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yep. So as my client puts it, she's hoping it's a synergy and not a direct competition. And as you see from the photos, she really built a very nice, boutique market there for the area, and she's an Oceanside resident herself, so she's hoping, much success at this location.
So I apologize, I missed this, but did you, what's a 10-year lease and what does she own?
So
I'm confused between the parking lot and the business lot.
If you look on the radius map, the property to the north, which is listed as Ratniff Oceanside LLC, she is leasing. It's shown as not part of the subject property.
She's leasing that for 10 years.
That she has a 10-year lease, and she, at her cost and expense, renovated that old retail building into the new Holy Fresh Market, which I submitted the photos for.
Okay.
And then the subject property on the radius map that's crosshatched, that's what she owns the fee title to through another LLC, and that's the one we're seeking to put the additional parking on. So
she always can have the parking there, but our issue is if something happens, she loses the lease, we don't want to have a parking lot there that is not affiliated with a business. So a 10-year like, if we were to incline to grant it, I would think that maybe there'd be a 10-year consideration, so that if she still has the lease 10 years from now, we could renew the parking if it were granted.
My client has no objection to a temporary grant and coming back to the board for a renewal to give the board an update on where she is with the lease renewal and, request an extension if the conditions are
And if her
still the same.
conditions change and she, let's say, bought the leased property, maybe she could make an application for modification or for a permanent, I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, or at some point, maybe, she's hoping she'll be there for the next, 20, 30 years, that the supermarket will be very successful. But if it's not, at some point, she may want to develop that property separate from the supermarket, because supermarket she leased and this one she owns. So I think it would work well for both the applicant and the town if, one, the condition that it be limited to the Holy Market parking, and two, that we come back, before the expiration of the 10-year lease to give the board an update and request a renewal, which hopefully is what she'll be doing, because hopefully it will go very well and she'll be successful there.
But her supermarket already approved without this parking lot, right?
Supermarket just opened.
Right, but if,
I thought you meant the business proved without the no. Yes, the supermarket got its final certificate so that it can open for business without this parking lot.
so in other words, if, like you say, she decided, oh, supermarket's great, we don't need the parking lot, I'm going to put
Develop
something
it
else
separately.
there, we don't have to worry about.
Supermarket will
connection.
legally stand on its own as a fully zoning compliant parcel with a final certificate.
Okay.
Mr. Minerva, what store had been there prior to her purchase?
I think it was a two-tenant building. I don't know. Do you know the names of the tenants that occupied it before you? Yes. Oh.
MCU Bank, Municipal Credit Union Bank. In the 3411. The 3427, which is the vacant lot, it is only dirt on the.
Yeah, that was I looked it up on my Nassau property. That was an auto accessory installation place. They sold auto parts and they installed them. They had an overhead bay door. That was entirely demolished before my client acquired title. And as she said, there was an MCU bank next door. From the online photos, it looked like there might have been two tenants. There was two separate doors, but might have been one. I'm not sure.
Just to back up. No, go ahead. The existing building, does that provide any parking on itself?
Yes, 16 spaces. Code compliant 16 spaces.
Where is that? On the other side of this building?
No, so there's no building here. This is a vacant lot. So yes, it would be just north of the vacant lot, that's the subject property, and just south of the building.
Thank you.
Side by side. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? Minerva, does that conclude?
I just will summarize that regarding the special use permit standards, the proposed use only being a parking lot to be utilized by adjacent market. There'll be clearly no prevention of the reasonable use of adjacent properties or legally established surrounding uses. If anything, the additional parking for the adjacent market will only have a positive impact on the surrounding uses. Safety, health, and welfare of the town will not be adversely affected, and the parking lot will be in harmony with the ordinance in the surrounding area.
Mr. Minerva, is there any kind of, I get your client is leasing one and owns the other. Do you have any sort of agreement connecting the two?
There is not a lease in place now, but if the board feels that it's important to have a 10-year lease between Holy Foods Oceanside LLC and Smart ABC Oceanside LLC that owns the lot, we have no objection to submitting that to the board.
Yeah, we usually, because we're not inclined to approve parking lots not affiliated with a structure. So.
Yeah, we have no objection to preparing a standard form lease. I'll have my client sign on behalf of both entities and submitting that to the board for the same 10-year term that the lease for the supermarket runs.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Minerva, you and your client will be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we take a 5-minute break?
Let's call it a recess for her to rest her hands.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess at this point. We'll be back at 3 minutes after 4.
such a, I haven't talked to him in a while, but when times I have at the town, he is just a wonderful guy. You and wife did very well. Yeah, it's the life we've chosen. Yeah.
You know, there's just so much you can do.
We didn't win a competition.
Exactly. But, you know, at this point, I think he's been with that organization for 16 years.
Wow.
So he's well into it, and you know, glad he did it, based upon what we have today.
Good. Did he remarry, Joe? I mean, I remember the last time he was seeing somebody. That might have been a while. It's a different world, Joe. You're going to see a blast from the past, Mr. Pellegrini. Everybody's going to see a blast from the past. Yeah, true, and me. I'm just trying to think if you were part of this decision, Mrs. Romano. Yes, you're part of it. When you'll see it, I'll introduce it into evidence.
Next, we have case 10523, Elmont, Francesco Laverty. Variances, lot area occupied, rear yard, construct dwelling with garage. Supplement to case number 42806, also known as 167 Oakley Avenue. Oh, you're my left. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record. Are you here for this? Yes. Are you here?
No, he's for the applicant. He's one of the, he's the builder on the property. He's the contract vendee.
No. Yeah, Mr. Alam? Yes. Okay. You signed in, but you didn't sign in as to whether or not you're in favor or opposed.
I don't know why I'm getting this letter in the first place. That's why I had no idea.
Because your house is located within a certain radius of the applicant's property.
And Mr. Laverty needs to sign in.
Thank you. Sorry you had to sit all day.
Sorry,
I
could have told us.
Usually I come over and people sign in, and I didn't come over, so my apologies to you. You can charge me a demerit.
All right. Yeah, I'll listen to it.
Sure.
Mr. Laverty, do you want to sign in? Since you're here.
Okay, for the record, I represent the applicant, property owner Francisco Laverty, and the contract vendee Verde Land Homes, Inc., with respect to the instant application to construct a dwelling with garage on vacant land that is known as 167 Oakley Avenue in Elmont. Also present, he noted on the record, is Steve Laverty, the principal of Verde Land Homes, to answer any questions the board may have regarding the application. The subject property is on the east side of Oakley Avenue in the hamlet of Elmont, approximately 325 feet south of Sun Avenue, and is known on the Nassau County tax map as Section 32, Block 560, lots 59 to 60. The parcel as it currently exists is a perfect rectangle with 40 feet of frontage on Oakley Avenue, 80 feet of depth on each side, and a rear property line of 40 feet. It's good I read my notes because it said a rear property line of 400 feet.
The radius map is drawn by Frank Vezza.
It's the radius map that we're tying in with the case. If you let me continue.
I was just, he had retired from the business.
Yes, and I'll get to that. It has an overall area of 3,200 square feet. The applicant proposes constructing a new one-family dwelling with garage on the property. As indicated, the only variances needed are for lot area occupied and rear yard. On the case number 428 of 2006, this was part of a subdivision application with the parcel that is immediately to the east, which fronts Meacham Avenue. That building permit was picked up, that property was built, that property was sold. I have, as part of that case, a copy of the notice of decision and other paperwork that I'd like to introduce as the applicant's Exhibit 1. This is for the subject property, because the position is, and I think John Ferrantello had verified this from Ms. Laverty, because of the fact that the subdivision has already taken place and the other house sold, we don't need a subdivision variance on this particular case. It was a back-to-back split back in 2000, and what happened was the board had granted it, and there had been various extensions, and the board finally gave a final date of May 19th of 2009 as a date to pick up the building permit. And as the board is well aware, I think most of you who do real estate, the market was in despair at that point in time, had already collapsed from the mortgage crisis, and so it expired. So the house located on Meacham Avenue, the one-story, that's the one? No, that was built, it was sold, somebody owns it. We're talking about the property on Oakley. And if I may, yeah. If I may, this is part of our petition is one. This has the radius map from then. not the radio, I'm sorry, it has the plot plan from then, and you'll see the back-to-back split on there.
Right, but I'm asking you.
I asked, as petition is one.
What I'm trying to ask you is 42806, that old case, does that relate to the prior connected lot that fronts on Meacham?
17 and 18.
No, I believe that the 428 is for this property. There were two cases at that time. I'm not certain if the other case was 427 or 429, but this was 428. So it's in effect, I guess a renewal, a rehearing, but things expired. So we had to bring a whole new case.
Technically, it's a de novo case, but you're going to mix them together because
the circumstances are such.
It was technically defective because they never picked up a permit for the subject property, or they never began construction.
You're right. When you say defective, it expired. So the variance died with the expiration.
Exactly.
Fair enough way of saying it. So this just became an empty piece of, an empty parcel. And if you were to think of in the radius map, if you were to look at the radius map as a jigsaw puzzle, there's one piece missing. And the piece is this property, which once the house is built, the puzzle is complete. Okay.
Good way of putting it.
I was trying to find the right words, and I hoped that did. The Verleyland's in contract. The numbers speak for themselves. Nothing has really changed. He's in contract to buy the property for $300,000. Francisco is Stefano's uncle, so there's a family relationship there, but it's an arm's length contract. He has his own attorney on it, and he believes he can. It'll cost him $250,000 or so to build, or $200,000 to build. He'll make a profit of $300,000 to build. I'm sorry, and that's.
Is the design and footprint of this house that's before us today the same as was previously granted?
I know the footprint is exactly the same. It's the same design.
Sames. And the community has been the same area character?
As one who's lived in the Elmont community for all his life, I can tell you that particularly Oakley Avenue is an older portion of the village, a lot of smaller lots. It fits. Again, it's the last piece of the puzzle, and if you go down and look at the radius map, that radius map fairly and accurately reflects the area as it exists today.
And that's the way it was back in 2016.
Other than people having made improvements, there wasn't like a disaster where everything burned down and all of a sudden people built huge homes on oversized lots. It's the same old small lots with as it was. What would that have been? 27 years ago? No, 17 years ago. I'm sorry. Make me older than I am. Only 10 years.
So while they're commiserating, tell me about Mr. Frank Fezza. He's out of retirement, or?
Yeah, Mr. Frank Fezza, he moved to Georgia, but he still calls me and asks me if there's any work for him to do.
He's retired from here many. Well, as a.
My guess would over 10 years would be my guess, if not more, because I remember him closing up and going somewhere outside of Atlanta, right?
Georgia.
Yeah.
In good health, etc.
Work. He still wants me to give him some more work.
Well, good. When you speak to him, tell him that I send my regards.
Well, he went down to play golf. One heck of a golfer. Believe it or not. You think of athletes being, big, strong guys. I'm big and not strong, but Frank is an amazing golfer. So he went to the right spot with all the court in Georgia.
Nice.
Joey? Just for egress, and if the board wants to put in the standard conditions, which would be no exterior basement entrance, owner occupied, all those conditions are acceptable to the applicants.
When the board granted the case previously, did you have to file a covenant and restriction on the
Yes, I believe it was recorded.
I would think.
Well, do you have the grant in front of you?
I provided the grant to the board, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of it. But you know, if what I would say to the board, if there were covenants and restrictions recorded, I will check back because I can check that out right on U.S. land records. If there were covenants and restrictions recorded, I will so advise the board and provide a copy. If not, we will be happy to file CNRs for this, encompassing whatever the reasonable conditions the board imposes.
The reason why, if there were, I think the counsel for the board would then have to address that with this grant.
They have to be consistent, I think.
Yes.
What you say, Mr. Belgrade, and I agree with you totally.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Liberti, anyone else who signed in on the case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's written. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe home.
See you soon.
Be well.
Did you second it?
Aye.
Aye. No.
Can I ask who's in favor?
Next, we have case 12223 through 12623, Uniondale. Elaine Blagrove and Horn R. Sterling. Variances: front yard average setback, lot area occupied, side yard, maintain one-story addition, enclosed porch, roofed over porch, and cellar entrance, all attached to dwelling. Variance: lot area occupied, maintain wood deck attached to dwelling. Variance: lot area occupied, maintain shed. Variance: lot area occupied, construct attached garage. Variance: lot area occupied, construct second-story addition to dwelling, also known as 708 Windsor Road. This was adjourned from the February 15th meeting, and there was partial testimony taken at that time. You swear or excuse me. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Take a seat, state your name and address for the record.
Thomas Besser, 2922 Harvey Avenue, Oceanside. Good afternoon. Okay, so my client wants to do an extension and in the garage. They want to do a dormer on the second floor in the garage, and it came up while doing that. There were some parts of her existing structure that were not up to code. When they were built, they weren't filed for. So that So,
Reader's Digest version. You know what that means?
why we're back?
Yeah.
Because you,
I'm just back to, I wasn't available last week, the last time, so I sent another representative from my company that just, they weren't briefed on all the information, so you asked somebody that was a little more brief to come back today.
And that's you.
That's me, yeah.
Good luck.
Okay. My first time, so hopefully
Oh, boy.
but I know all the details of the project. I've been dealing with it for a year. She's gone through, we helped her get a second architect because it's a convoluted case of like existing structures that weren't originally permitted for. So we've probably spent, 30, 40 hours with, dealing with the building department and getting what was needed to get to where we're at right now so that she could potentially move forward, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want me to?
It's up to Mr. Regano. He's the chairperson.
Go ahead.
Okay, so she has a front covered porch, a rear addition, and a 10 by 10 shed, and a side staircase to her basement. Those four structures, the front porch were existing structures when her and her son took possession of the home, was within the family. So now they're looking to legalize them. In addition to that, there's a request to build a garage on site.
so I have roughly 6 structures that are maintained, meaning they want to legalize them. One is a 1-story addition. What is that? Just, I think that's what you mentioned, but go ahead and just tell us what that is.
Right.
Front, back, side, whatever.
That's the rear of the house, and it's behind the master bedroom. There's a sitting room, walk-in closet, an extension off the bathroom.
Okay, then maintain enclosed porch. Where is that on the house?
So the enclosed porch is in the back left part of the house. It follows the footprint of the house, extending back 12 feet.
Okay, roof over porch.
So that's the front masonry porch that they have a roof over.
Okay, cellar entrance.
Right side of house.
Wood deck, rear.
Rear of house, yes.
And shed.
Shed.
Those are the maintains, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And which of you said 4 of those were already there when she purchased the house?
The masonry porch, the extension, she did the enclosure of the Florida room, enclosed porch, and the shed in the backyard, the 10 by 10 shed.
She did the shed and the rear porch?
Yep.
And when did you say she bought the house?
I don't have that date.
Was it 25 years ago or?
Probably about 20 years ago.
Okay.
Did you purchase it, or was it a family transfer?
She purchased it, and then she put her son on the, that's her son, the gentleman Sterling is her son.
So the cellar entrance is not there legally. She wants to legalize it. Was there before she bought the house, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So have you been to the premises?
Yes.
What's in the basement?
She has just an open storage area, like a sort of entertainment area.
So it's finished?
Boiler room.
Finished, partially finished?
Yes.
Full bath?
Is there a bath?
No.
Yes.
There's a half bathroom down there.
I see a basin, a sink, and a shower.
Yeah, it's a non-operable shower right now.
Okay.
She's not using it.
3/4 at least. And the boiler room, the laundry room, the den area.
And then have a laundry room.
And that has the cellar entrance and an entrance from inside the house. So what is we see what's down there. So what does she use that for? How many people live in this house?
3. Her husband and her son.
Okay, and what do they use that cellar for?
Just an entertaining area.
This only has the cellar level and one other level, or do they have a second level somewhat? Yeah.
They have a
other than-
second floor with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom?
That's what I thought. Seem to have a floor plan for that.
There's your basement.
Yeah, I just don't have the floor plan for the second level, so,
You don't, okay, the existing second level?
right, the first,
Go ahead.
so the first level has living room, dining room, 1 bedroom and giant mudroom, enclosed porch and a kitchen. I just have, what's on the second level?
2 bedrooms and a bathroom, existing,
Permitted.
permitted, yes.
And now she wants to make an addition to the second level, right?
Correct.
What would that, where and what?
A bathroom be, extending back about 10 feet and adding a bathroom to the left bedroom.
So that would be bathroom number,
Bathroom number,
4,
correct.
bathroom number 4, and bedroom number what?
Bedroom, the existing bedrooms would just be getting larger, so it'd be bedroom number 3.
You want to go through the numbers, what you propose for front yard average setback, lot area occupied, side yard, net, like lot area occupied, just tell us the total with all this, so we can get a grasp on it.
Yeah. You want to start with the front porch?
What do we want?
Okay, so the front porch, with the masonry porch is 16 and a half feet, 16 feet, 8 inches from the sidewalk.
And what's required?
20.
Is it a corner?
Sorry, no, it's not a corner.
So the front yard average is 20? Never that round, but. So the front yard average is 20?
Yeah.
It seems interesting that it would be so rounded off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're saying the average on the block?
Yeah, the front yard average that this applicant would have to comply with.
Okay.
Versus what she's asking for. Can you find the grid of the required?
No, I just saw this stuff.
Where on the papers is the zoning information, the grid that says require this, this, and that, and here's what we propose, if you know.
I'm sorry, say it one more time?
I'm sorry, my voice doesn't carry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to locate, there's usually like the little grid of zoning information, like, here's my proposed lot area occupied, here's what's required in Res B, here's my proposed, I literally cannot read.
It's in tabular form.
Say again?
In a tabular form.
Yeah, in the tabular form, I had the lot coverage.
Yeah, the lot.
I don't have the setback of the front,
Front yard average.
front yard average. I don't have the details. When I reviewed it with the architect, we didn't have that.
How'd the architect know what it was then?
See, you're looking for a front yard average setback.
Mm-hmm.
What is your client propose and what is the average setback?
Claims the average is 20.
On the block you're talking about?
No.
In the 200-foot radius?
Yes.
200-foot radius, okay. I have to ask the architect. I don't know. We didn't discuss that specific, yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then you need.
Lot area occupied.
All right.
I mean, you know where you're at.
We discussed this in depth. I think
You need to. Yeah.
Talk to the chairman.
you want the average setbacks within the 200-foot radius.
Yeah, because that's what we have to judge your request by.
Gotcha.
With all due respect, I think it would be in your best interest to ask the chairman for another adjournment because you're ill-prepared.
I got you.
I don't know how delicate to say that, but you can handle it.
So, okay.
We may have the same problem going down the line with lot area occupied side. Do you have that information?
Of the average within the 200 square foot radius, you're saying?
Well, the lot area occupied, do you know what you're asking for and what the mandate is?
I know the mandate is 27.5%.
Do you know what you're asking for?
She's just over 40% with everything that she's asking for.
Well, this says 32.44.
It's without the back deck. So that the only number that doesn't have is the back deck that she has, which is another item that she's filing to maintain.
And how far off the grade is the back deck tread?
It's right off the house.
No, but how high? How, is it 2 steps up? Oh, okay, yeah.
He's done.
Why don't you ask for a short adjournment?
Sure.
Come back. Patrick?
Like the architect should give you a grid that says front yard average.
Yeah.
Right. I think he's providing for the new structures that he's doing it, and it's unfortunately been like a bit of a hot potato that it's a tough thing for somebody to pick up because there's so many just unhandled things.
We understand. Patrick?
The next available date would be March 15th, 2 o'clock.
Will that give you enough time?
He doesn't have to mail another notice.
No more mailing.
Okay.
3:15, 2 p.m.
And can you give us the floor plan for the second floor also?
Do you want me to give you this now?
No.
Was that?
No. He has
Want
it now.
To put into the file?
Oh, go ahead and file it so it gets stamped properly.
Yeah.
So you want the second floor plan?
And
The proposed or the
proposed?
When would you be able to get that?
That's been submitted to the building department. So, but I don't know why you don't have it, but we'll submit it again.
Yeah, that should.
Okay. The 15th, 2 p.m.
Patrick, should we have him speak with someone, you, Dawn, someone, to make sure that the,
Look at that.
like, this says he put it out. And this says he did 40, but this is 32, but that's not the deck. The deck may or may not be applicable to the 30. Here. Is this what it is?
Patrick, you're going.
So file it again though on that. Okay. Next we have case 13523, Oceanside, Burkat Hashim LLC. Use variance to construct 3-story multifamily residence in Res B district with lot area occupied, side yards and rear yard variances. Use variance to construct 3-story multifamily residence in business district with height, lot area occupied,
front yard average setback variances, and exceeding population density. Special exception to park in Res B district, variance in off-street parking with insufficient maneuvering aisle, also known as 3235 Long Beach Road. Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Take a seat, state your name and address for the record.
You want me? Okay.
Center attraction. Cameras are right on.
Better spot for the camera, exactly. Good afternoon, Christian Brown, McLaughlin and Stern, 1122 Franklin Avenue, Garden City, appearing for the applicant.
Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmore, New York, 11710.
Roger Itzhakov, 1016 Dickens Street, Far Rockaway, New York, 11691.
Good afternoon. The Fina causa of the day. Remember that, Mr. Pellegrini? Final case. This is an application pertaining to 3225 Long Beach Road in Oceanside. In sum and substance, we'll get into the details. This is an attempt to develop a very difficult piece of property with a 14-unit apartment building. The applicant has owned the property since 2016, excuse me, and has made numerous efforts to develop it with permitted uses, and those have failed. And this is an attempt, as I said, to take this piece of property, which, as Mr. Nelson and I will describe for you in a moment, is a strange piece of property, a unique piece of property, a difficult piece of property, lying along Long Beach Road in Oceanside that is derelict. Part of it has an abandoned small little house on it that's all boarded up, and the southern part of it has a abandoned retail store that was last like an Italian deli type of use, which has been out of business since before the time that my client purchased it. The lot is a 60 by 200, so 12,000 square feet in total. As I said, it's right now improved with this abandoned former single-family house and the abandoned store. The house is on the northerly section of the lot, the store on the southerly section. It's a split zone piece of property. The first 100 feet is business, and the rear, off Long Beach, correct, going back off of Long Beach, is business. The rear remaining 100 feet is Residence B, and it backs up to a dead end of a residential street behind the adjacent TJ Maxx shopping center that's just to the north.
Fifth Avenue is to the south, yes. Yeah, you're right, it's 8 units.
Okay.
It backs up to the parking lot of TJ Maxx, and that is the shipping receiving area for the department.
And then the residential street is behind. Yes.
That's part of the subject property, yes. That's a landlocked piece to the subject property.
That's landlocked. Are they in common ownership, the two?
Yes, to lot number 39, you mean?
39 and 145 are in common ownership.
Correct.
It's one yes, there's two lots, but it's one parcel, one contiguous parcel running back 200 feet off of Long Beach Road.
In the rear, 145.
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
Got it. So as I mentioned, the idea here would be to take this and construct a 14-unit apartment building fronting on Long Beach Road and then running back through the property into the Residence B district and leaving a 16, just shy of 17-foot setback to the rear property line. There would be parking on grade. First level on grade, not digging down, on grade would be the parking lot. and the parking lot provides 30 parking spots. There would be then 2 stories of apartments above, 10 one-bedrooms and 4 two-bedrooms. The total height of the building is 33 feet to the top of the parapet. If you look at the notice, you'll see that that height, strangely enough, is actually permitted in Residence B, because Residence B, under Section 68B of the Building Zone Ordinance, allows 45 feet for any structure that's not a single-family home. Just pointing it out for the record. And the business section of the property, there is a denial for height because the height is limited to 30 feet in the business district. Yeah, exactly. And the number of, it exceeds the number of stories in both, because with the 2 stories above grade, elevated 2 stories, it's that creates the 3rd story. So it's 10 foot clear to the first story of living space, and then each level is, I believe, 8 foot 6 inches, about 9 feet of floor. So therefore, we're required a number of variances. Obviously, the main variance before you is a use variance for the multifamily use in both districts, both the business district and the residence district. In the business district, the code, although it doesn't allow apartments, it has a residential density requirement in the code for the business district, and that's on your notice. So if you applied that factor in the code, you know, as of right, let's say, you would be allowed a density of 8 units here on this size property, where we're proposing 14. The side yards are not required in the business district, so there's no denial for that. They are required to be in the residence district. They are required to be 20 feet because it's a non-residential structure. That's BZO 71B. So it requires a greater side yard than would be allowed for a single-family house. So that's 20 feet, and I believe we have 0 side yard. No. Do we have a small side yard on one side?
10 on the south side and approximately 6 on the north side, 5 or 6 feet.
Oh, then I misread that. Okay. Thank you for correcting me, Mr. Nelson. Front yard average setback required in the business zone. The average is 9.5. It's required, and it's 4.6 proposed. And the last variance is for the drive aisle, for the entranceway. There's parking on either side, so the backup aisle, or drive aisle, I should say, is supposed to be 24 feet wide, and we are at 23 feet wide. So those are the variances that we need for the record, but obviously the focus here, I would assume, for the board is the use. Now, as I mentioned, if you just look at the photographs of the property, you will see that it is a rather odd-shaped property. It's 60 feet in the front and 200 feet deep, with these 2 abandoned structures on it. It is wedged between a non-conforming mixed-use building to the south that abuts the abandoned store, and an elevated medical office building to the north, which is sort of similar in character to what we're proposing. Maybe it's 2 or 3 feet lower than what we're proposing, but it's raised up so you can pull in, park underneath, and then it's I guess it's a 2-story structure, but you'll see in the photos it has sort of one high ceiling in the neighboring building. Yeah, it's the equivalent of that. It's a little bit of a funny design because it looks like a high ceiling. In other words, there aren't 2 levels of windows, but it's the equivalent of basically a raised 2-story structure. It's a medical office building, and it's a similar type of layout to what the lot is somewhat similar to what we have here. And then just adjacent to that, to the north, is the large TJ Maxx shopping center. In 2018, this applicant was before the board with an application to construct an office building on the subject property, which this board proposed. It was similar in design to what's proposed here. It was an elevated office building, and Mr. Nelson will give you the details on that it's in his report, but it was a 3-story structure, and it actually required more parking than is required for this residential structure. And I should mention the parking, by the way. As I said, we have 30 spots. We're required 38 spots under the code, but we only have 14 units proposed. So we have more than double the number of spots for the units, and the preponderance of the units, 10 of the units, are 1-bedrooms. The office building required, I believe, 49 spots, 38. And we had proposed 38 spots. And that was approved by the board. That was in August of 2018. Shortly thereafter, after receiving the approval, my client engaged in marketing efforts. We have some exhibits we can hand up in a moment. Officially, the property is still on LoopNet, still listed on LoopNet. He signed 2 agreements with local real estate brokers, which we have copies of here, looking to market the approved property for development as an office building. In the 3.5 to 4 years that he actively marketed the property for office development, he received 1 phone call inquiry and 0 offers. And so the property has remained fallow and in the condition I described to you before.
What was it listed for sale?
Can you tell the chairman what you initially listed it for sale and how you dropped the price?
Yeah, we listed it at 1.2, and now it's 890, and there is no even offers on the table.
So you started at 1.2 in 2019, and your current LoopNet price is 890.
We dropped it. Even they contacted the real estate. He offered to go even lower. So he's like, we're looking for any offers. We got nothing on the table.
And you've had no income from the property in that time?
It's abandoned as I purchased it originally, and there's no buyers. There's no even interest in the property.
I'm sorry if you said it. What was the outcome of the previously business option?
It was approved. This board approved variances for an office building, at which point he engaged in these marketing efforts unsuccessfully, not able to find anyone that wanted to develop the property. And
so he's taking on the developing, but why isn't he developing with that to do it?
Develop it as an office building? Because based upon the going into the market and finding that no one wanted to build the office building, the fear that, okay, I'm going to spend $5 or $6 million putting up a spec office building and there's no demand for offices on Long Beach Road and Oceanside.
What led him to think there would be demand for apartments spec'd out?
Well, Mr. Nelson will get into that in his analysis. I don't want to steal his thunder, but and as you'll hear, it's not the idea that this would be he'll have to stick to the lightning.
I think you have a lot of thunder.
Split decision. Go ahead.
We'll take it.
Go ahead.
So we're not coming here trying to tell you that, this apartment building would be the real estate investment of the century. The idea here is to find something that's viable on the property. And if you look at it and you think logically and common sense of, well, what could you put here? Office been shown to be difficult. It doesn't really lend itself to easily to lay out for retail, and it's right next to a huge shopping mall. I'm not sure what you could really, how you would configure the property for a conducive retail use. It's only 60.
Right next to it so they can have synergies.
Well, that was a hope, but it seems to have come to nothing. Obviously, it's too small and too narrow for any kind of restaurant use. difficult to access. You'd have to, to do something like that, you'd have to try to put parking in the front probably and, push back the building into the residential area. I think it's fair to say, based upon what Mr. Nelson will tell you and the photographs in evidence, that it's a unique piece of property. And it's been lying fallow since before my client owned it, which would lead one to conclude it's a very difficult piece of property to develop. And that's a fair thing and a proper thing for you to consider in determining whether to grant a use variance to allow residential development where it wouldn't otherwise be allowed. Another factor to consider would be the area character, which again Mr. Nelson will get into, but you're all familiar with Long Beach Road and its very busy commercial character. There are other buildings nearby, including just to the south, where there are, that are mixed use with apartments above. The busy shopping centers just to the north, and then you saw the medical office building, which is of a sort of a similar design. The height that we're seeking here, it's just a little bit above what would be required, at least in the business zone. It's allowed in the residence portion, and it's a minor variance that wouldn't change the essential character of the area. And all of that is being done to try to make the property, feasibly developable by having a nice amount of parking, using grade for parking, which is what the board approved for the office use. Same concept to put the 2 floors above.
Brown,
yes.
The client's thinking, if he's decided, let me get approval for this and sell it to someone with the view that person would like to develop an apartment building, like he was going to do with office, or guess what? I'm just going to build this and I'm going to run an apartment building, or I'm going to build this and sell an apartment building, or what version of that?
I believe, and I'll let my client answer it, but right now his intention, and he is in the trades, is to develop the property himself, to build this building himself, correct?
And then keep it and be the landlord, or sell it once it's constructed, like who wants to buy an apartment building?
Keep it as a landlord. I like to keep it nice, running, and I was planning to make it nice building, not just a structure.
And what was I'm just curious, why apartments, not condos, for example, or whatever?
Just this is I think
Well, I think the difficulty with getting into sales and mortgages, and whenever you do condos, there's also the overlay of the subdivision in Nassau County. It can add, 2 years onto the process. Yes. So, and as Mr. Nelson will tell you, and as I think the board knows from its own common sense and experience, there's a big demand for residential apartments. This is a small-scale project, obviously. We're not talking about hundreds of units. We're not talking about something that would change the essential nature and character of Oceanside. It's not being plopped down in the middle of a single-family home district. The building will fit in with what the streetscape of Long Beach Road looks like. You wouldn't notice it. It wouldn't stand out. It wouldn't be substantially different in look to the office building that was proposed and approved, because, again, this would be a raised structure with parking underneath. So I think we can show uniqueness, hardship, fits with the area character, and then the really main other factor is reasonable return. Can the applicant realize a reasonable return by building a permitted use such as an office building versus the return he would get with this proposed apartment building? And for that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nelson.
Yes, sir.
You have been previously qualified by this board as a real estate expert. Have your credentials changed since the last time you were qualified?
No, sir.
Not for the better, I take it.
Are you better than you brought?
More experience.
You are then qualified as an expert, and you are free to testify as such.
Thank you, Chairman. So I handed in several exhibits, photographs of the subject property and the surrounding uses. I think there's 35 pictures that include the subject property, uses and pattern of development on Long Beach Road, what's behind the subject property, and on 5th Street as well as 4th Street. The second exhibit, aerial views and a location map, I believe, is attached to it for the board's review. I also handed in a 5-page economic analysis of what was proposed back in 2018 and what is going before the board today. Just to back up a little bit, I'm sure the board's very familiar with this location, and as Mr. Pellegrini was asking me, it's a double lot, 60 feet, 200 feet in depth. The first 100 feet is tax lot 39, business X zone. The last 100 feet, which would be tax lot 145 in common ownership with the lot 39, is residential B zone. The residential B zone would be similar to the parcel to the north, which would be the medical office building, and it's identified as one tax lot 40, I believe, from the front to rear, as well as the parcel to the south, which would be tax lot 139. Both of those parcels are split zoned, and the residential is used in conjunction with the business property to the west. The parcel to the north is a two-story, high ceilings on the second level, raised building with parking at ground level, similar to what the applicant is proposing and what the applicant proposed in the previous application. The second, the parcel to the south, which is a mixed-use property built in the various times, 1940s, 1950s, uses both properties. Both the parcel to the north and to the south have received variances pursuant to Board of Appeal applications to use the residential portion in conjunction with the business property on the east side of Long Beach Road. The property to the east of subject property, which is approximately, let's say, almost 60 feet wide, that area is some parking and the shipping and receiving area, and I provided photographs from TJ Maxx, which is identified on the radius map, the second parcel to the north. That's an oversized parcel that runs from Long Beach Road to the east 4th Street, parking right up to 4th Street, north of the residential. It is a neighborhood shopping center. It's substantial in nature with many retail stores. The large user in there would be TJ Maxx. So, the subject property is truly a unique parcel. The residential is landlocked. It's got a use that's to the north that was approved many years ago and developed with medical uses, which was the norm back in the 20 years ago. But today, the medical users are now looking for larger. In fact, they probably buy that shopping center and turn that whole shopping center to the north into a medical user, which is what you find throughout many locations in the town of Hempstead, in Nassau County, as well as in Suffolk County. Nevertheless, what the applicant has was originally approved under it was an office building under case numbers 768 and 769, August 8th, 2018. And that requested the use of the residential in conjunction with the business. It required off-street parking variances, as Councilor mentioned, 49 spaces required, 38 proposed, and some other minor variances. That is on file with the building department as well as the Board of Appeals. Again, it was cases 768 and 769, August 8, 2018. The economic analysis that I prepared is a 5-page report. It outlines the previous application. The applicant has owned the property for since August 31st, 2016. According to him, there's never been a tenant on the property since he acquired it. It's been vacant, and it's been available for redevelopment as well as the proposed office building in 2018. That was a residence and a retail store. There's a middle building, which was an old residence on the property, which is vacant and boarded up, and then you got the one-story retail store that's attached to the building to the south. That'll be all removed for this application.
The only one that's been habitable is the retail store.
Correct, but it has not been tenanted since he purchased it.
It was abandoned even when he bought it in 2016, the retail store.
The store has 40% of it is a big, huge freezer that you cannot even do a restaurant. You can do nothing from it. It's like a huge freezer. How much can you need to break it down to do anything inside. So since I bought it, it was like that. It's still there.
So in 2018, he came before this board for about a 10,000 square foot, 3-story office building, ground level parking, and 2 stories above that. Everything. It was a clear 60 by 200 that would have been cleared, and that was part of the grant to demolish all existing improvements. And that's the same in this application as well. I developed an economic analysis for a proposed office building, and that would be on page 2, middle of the page, where 9,800 square foot office building would be developed. It would cost about almost $2.5 million. Then there was demo, site improvements, and the original cost of the property from 2016 with closing costs. That would be an investment of about $3,055,000, and that's on page 2. The cost basis is 2016. That would be on the first page. He paid $485,000 for the property. That's the original acquisition cost plus closing costs, and he's got $500,000 into it from the original date of closing. I did not include any carrying costs to date, and that would be real estate taxes and insurance, the bare minimum, and possibly some cleanup of the site over the years. That was not included in my analysis for the proposed use in 2018. That said, I ascertained lease rents, and lease rents vary from anywhere from $20 up to about $33 a square foot for office space. I accepted a $30 per square foot, which is fair and reasonable. It's at the higher end for that proposed office building. Following it through on page 2, you will see that it'll develop a gross potential net operating income of about $294,000. Removed some vacancy and rent loss, which is normal in appraisal practices, and you'd net out a net operating income of about gross income of $270,500. Continuing, real estate taxes, insurance, year-round maintenance, and legal and accounting, and some miscellaneous. That would be the operating expenses by the landlord. The rest would be pushed on to the tenant. That would yield a net operating income of $128,500. The next page would be net operating income divided by cash investment, and that would yield a 4.21% return on your money. That's on an all-cash investment. You can go in the bank today and buy treasury bills. You can get others that'll pay you now 4.5% to 5%, almost 5% on your money. This is a very risky development. I further indicated nobody's going to leave their money, no developer, no investor is going to leave their money, $3.5 million in the office building. They're going to refinance. At refinancing a part of that $3 million plus, 60% of that would cost you, just on an interest alone mortgage, $125,560 just to pay the mortgage, interest only. That would pay the mortgage, but that would yield remaining income, and I use $30 a square foot, which is very reasonable. We yield $2,940 for his money that's still equity in the building at well over $1 million. That would yield a 0.24% return on your investment. No bank is going to lend on this property. It's a very risky development as proposed. Again, this was 2018, pre-COVID. In my experience, I haven't done an office building, I can't tell you when. I used to do many small buildings like this that they're just not happening anymore. In fact, Class A and B buildings are now losing tenants and are being sold off to other investors for redevelopment of those buildings. And you'll see that in the Melville location. You have that. In fact, RX Plaza has much office space now at around $30 to $35 a square foot, and that's a better location than this location.
What did you use at square foot? I see the gross numbers for the rents, 2,750 2,750 for the one bedrooms, but I don't know how large
We're
they
not
are.
up to that yet. You're way ahead of me.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to know the
office building.
I know.
Why the office building doesn't work.
Right.
So,
I saw those numbers too.
So that I'm finished with that, so we can get up to the next one.
I just wanted to know
as
the
proposed.
number you used. I figured you had it.
So what I'm using for one bedrooms is $2,750 per one bedroom.
How many square feet?
How many square feet?
I'm trying to get the square feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're about, what was it, about 800? Hold on. 24 by 40.
See, I don't have really numbers.
Yeah, I do have it.
Well, actually, 24.
24 by...
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
40, 24.
It's 24, 10 and a half by something.
They say
right?
25 by 40. I think they're... It was 25 by 40. They're just under 1,000 square feet, the one bedrooms.
It's 275 square feet.
So, with that said, I developed analysis for the proposed 14 units. Again, $2,750 for the one bedrooms, $3,350 for the two bedrooms, which are a little bit bigger. And that's market rents for those apartments as well. I continued with the development of that property. It would be just under $6 million, $5,700,000, just for argument's sake, rounded, and I developed that analysis. That would yield a 5.7 return on an all cash. That would enable the applicant to refinance the development of that property at 70%, pay the mortgage, and then return almost a 3% return on his cash investment. That said, apartments are in demand, and even though I use a vacancy and rent loss, which you have to use in just about all your appraisal practices, this will be a development that will be substantial. It'll be sustainable in today's market going forward. And it's a reasonable development considering the location of this property, the demand for apartments. In fact, I've done several now along Grand Avenue where they're proposing apartments. I've done some recent one that was just approved in Lynbrook. I've done many now out in town of Babylon on the South Shore along Merrick Road, Montauk Highway, for similar type developments, anywhere from 8 to 35 units.
How many of them were use variances?
They all are.
All of those that you just named?
Well, no, the ones on Grand Avenue are in the transit-oriented development.
TOD.
Those are not. The ones in Babylon, they are all up.
Didn't the town board kind of suspend that and put a moratorium on the TODs?
Not in Baldwin, in Inwood and Lawrence.
Right.
Not in Baldwin. Baldwin just received approvals for the southeast corner of Grand Avenue and Sunrise Highway. That's a Breslin development at 215 units. They received I didn't finish up on that, but it came before the board. It hasn't been approved yet. I believe it will be shortly. The north side of Merrick Road, just west of Grand Avenue, for 33 units, and there are a couple of others now on the. And Valley Stream. I've done many of them, and they're all use variances for the boards and the zoning boards, and they've been approved. 138 North Central. I just did the one just to the north of that 150 something North Central, and I've done others for other
How many
developments.
apartment buildings are there on Long Beach Road?
So, as far as new developments, there hasn't been any. One of them ones that I would like to just submit for the board, and this would be along Long Beach Road, within 2 blocks to the north, beginning at North Windsor Parkway. On the west side, if you just hand this in, on the west side, there's most of the buildings on Long Beach Road were built in the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s. They were built mixed use, retail on the first floor and apartments on the second floor. The one I'm just going to show you would be just opposite the Burger King. Is a 3-story that has 2 stories over retail, 3 on each floor, from what I can ascertain from the Nassau County website.
And how long have they been there?
They've been there since 1929. And then you got the whole row.
Excuse me, as far as a separate apartment building, how many are on Long Beach Road?
When you mean separate?
Well, this is going to be in a separate apartment building. There aren't going to be any stores underneath.
Correct. We're going to provide.
The old way was the store underneath, an apartment above, basically for the store owner at one time. Okay, that's what they were for. But you're asking for an apartment building, and I'm just asking you, how many of those are from, let's say, Sunrise Highway down to DeMont? How many apartment buildings are there standing free?
I can't.
Freestanding apartment buildings on Long Beach Road.
I didn't.
There are none.
None?
I agree. There's probably none.
There are none. I lived in that area for 50 years. There are none. You know, when you get down to Alhambra, that's a little bit different situation. All right. Right. Okay. And they're well off the road. They have everything on their own, and they've been there for 40 years or more. But as far as a freestanding apartment building, I'll even say on Long Beach Road from Hempstead down to DeMont in Oceanside.
We may have some small ones, 4 or 6 units, but
not maybe above a store.
Well, what the applicant is looking to.
He's looking for a freestanding apartment building with 14 units. All I asked was how many more are there in the area?
But I know the applicant is looking to maintain, provide almost adequate parking for the units on the first, on the ground level.
But Long Beach Road in Oceanside is not an area where we have apartment buildings.
Okay. We have mixed uses, and as you mentioned, we have the CA zone for the Alhambra, I think.
Yeah, but that's way down, and that's been there for years. And you go by Alhambra, you wouldn't even know it was there. That's how much it's off the road.
No, there's no question that this sort of
That
development.
was my hope. I want him to say whether there are or there aren't.
I'm not totally sure. I'm not going to argue with you.
No, I'm not arguing. I just want to know how many there are. Because this is a freestanding apartment building to be built on Long Beach Road, which is really, really a heavily traveled road. Parking on Long Beach Road, you'd have to take your life into your hands getting out on a...
There is no parking.
That's right. But there are some parking on Long Beach Road, and you don't want to get out of your car door. Okay? But that's an area where there's no apartments on Long Beach Road. Standalone.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think there's no question that whatever apartments there are have been part of older mixed-use developments. There are some, for years.
And I said I've been there 50 years, and I've never really seen a new store come, even a new store come and put an apartment above it.
No.
They were all the old-time stores.
Right.
Okay.
You are correct.
She's always correct.
As Ed McMahon said, you are correct. And the question here, I think, comes down to whether you're right. It's not typical, and it hasn't been the pattern of development in this area of the town or most areas of the town, because the town didn't allow that kind of development basically over the years. So this is one of your busy business corridors, but it's also beset with quite a bit of vacancies, and including right across the street, there was the abandoned furniture store. I think maybe that's finally found a user.
Furniture store, that's a child care center now.
Now it's, right, exactly.
We did that quite a few years ago.
Right, but and there had been prior failed applications there, and so it's sort of a, I would describe it as sort of a hit or miss as you go down south. There are some, retail and so forth that survives and is successful, and there's others that, restaurants and others that have gone in and out over the years. As we said, I wouldn't have recommended bringing this case if it was just, hey, I found a piece of property, I want to build an apartment on it. I don't think we would be here if that was the case. I think the 5+ years of frustration with trying to develop this site and the fact that it is in the condition that it's in, lends credence to the idea that it's very difficult to develop, and as Mr. Nelson is saying, these types of office developments in this location at this particular time in our history, it's extremely speculative and extremely difficult to get anybody to finance because you just don't know what kind of rents and demand you're going to get to fill up two floors of an office building at this point to make any kind of property pencil out. Retail is very difficult to build here, plus the fact is, even if you could put a retail store here that would, some retail use that would survive, you'd probably end up in a use variance situation anyway, because you'd very likely need to put the parking for that in the front, and your business use would be in the back, which is in a residential zone. So I think one way or the other, you would be here asking for use variance relief. Now, I'll grant you that maybe my scenario with pushing a store back is, you might say, is more of a technicality, but it does still, it is a legal point and a hurdle that an applicant would have to clear, and it is a burden on this piece of property and an impediment to its development. So what we're here asking you to do is to grant relief because of these various hardships, not to make my client a lot of money, but to recognize that there have been good faith efforts to develop it, and that the common sense and the data shows it's really not developable any other way. And in this unique instance, allow residential development where it has not historically been allowed.
Understood. It is in my opinion, it's a very big request. All these units are pretty big, and apparently the building zone ordinance agrees with my thoughts. So you need to explain what the exceeding the population density, how that's applied here, and how you can't do it, or if you were to comply, what the ultimate result would be. Because it's use variance. Use variance, as you well know, probably better than I, is a real tough row to hoe, and
it is, and I take it seriously. And again, if I had gotten a phone call, and I get them saying, I'd like to put 3 apartments above my store in Point Lookout, so, well, I don't think I should take your money, frankly. So I hear you, and I agree with you, and I've had that discussion with my client numerous times, as is Mr. Nelson, that these requests are a very high legal hurdle, and you are asking the board to sort of waive the ordinance in a way.
Yeah.
To your point on density, yes. I think that the concept, and Mr. Nelson, I want him to opine on this, but the concept was, to maximize the property, to use as much of it as you could. 14 doesn't sound like a lot. We have 30 parking spots. You're going back on the property. Now, having said that, if the board were amenable to the concept but wanted to reduce the density, and we could make the numbers work, we could. That's something that is a fair and reasonable request.
Population density doesn't exceeding population density doesn't come before the board that often. It used to come more frequently than it is now. Could you explain to the board, my colleagues, myself, what exactly is that what is there a number that's assigned to it? And if the board were to deny that particular request, what would your client end up with?
So the
real numbers.
The way that population density is a provision in the business zone that sets, I believe it's
section 204, population density. Yeah. No dwelling shall be erected or maintained unless the plot of which it is erected shall have an area of at least 1,500 square feet for each family accommodated or intended to be accommodated. We have 12,000 square feet, 60 by 200. According to that, this would be 8 units at 1,500 square feet per, or 12,000 for the total.
What would they rent for?
They would rent it, we would just build a smaller building with 8 units, same thing, same rentals, the 1 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms at this location. That makes the most sense. You're not going to put 3 or 4 bedroom units in there. And further, that reduces the parking requirements, and the applicant would comply at 8 units, 5 for 3, plus 1 guest. You would need 22 parking spaces.
How much would it cost?
We would just do the numbers. I don't have the analysis for that, but it would reduce it in proportion to what I proposed for the 14. It would be down to the 8. Similar, you'd be reducing the building size accordingly, and probably complying with the front yard setback, and it would just be proportionate, probably the same numbers as far as at the end.
Would you reduce the rate of return?
Basically, you're going to build a smaller building, so you'd be almost having the same rate of return. You'd be building a smaller building. Again, we're not putting bigger we're not putting taking the same building and putting more bedrooms in each one. So you'd be almost in the same returns. But I'm not going to. I can't do it quickly off the cuff here. I would have to sit back at my desk and do it.
But it is something we've discussed. As you say, we don't see it that often because the interpretation of the ordinance is that residences aren't allowed in the business zone, and so they're rarely brought here. And when they are, it's usually maybe for 1 or 2 units or something of that nature, and the population density doesn't come up. It's kind of an oddball provision, really, because if you were to grant the use variance but deny the population density, my interpretation is you'd be approving an 8-unit apartment building.
Which is unacceptable. We would take it if we had to take it. Talk to me.
I think the latter is what we would. It's better than nothing. We would take it if we had to take it. If it was if that's what the board thinks is best, or somewhere between 8 and 14. Again, we'd be willing to try to make it work so that we could get out of this problem that it's been carrying the property since 2016. So we're looking for a way out.
Understood. Thank you. I appreciate the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that you're in agreement with that?
This is it.
We have 2 other people signed in on this case.
That's really our case, unless you have further questions.
Any further questions? We do have 2 people.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Signed in. They did not indicate whether or not they were in favor or opposed, but would you like to say something, folks? Okay.
Yeah, so just, if you could make 2 seats available there and scoot the 1 microphone. I don't know, just you, Mr. Brown, you and or 2 of you could stay, and there's 2 over there.
In the first row.
If you net out annually, the business would get 30 as opposed to apartment 33, just roughly on the same amount of square footage. It's not that much difference.
Yeah, but you're also,
I understand. You're not going to get for the other space, the common space.
That's right.
both are going to have some common space. You're not gonna
You sit here.
Excuse me.
I won't sit.
My name is Nathan Strick. I live at 3243 Lawrence Avenue in Oceanside.
Thank you.
1 block away from that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You said.
Ma'am,
My turn.
are you going to speak?
3243 Lawrence Avenue, Oceanside.
How far is your home from the location of this property?
We're across the street. We're on the other side.
1 block away.
You're on the other side of Long Beach Road?
Excuse me?
You're on the other side of Long Beach Road? Okay.
We're on the west side.
Okay. What do you have to say?
Firstly, let me say,
You better
sorry.
bring it closer.
Yeah. My voice is going. Okay, firstly, this organization that's involved here is named Birkat Hashem LLC. Birkat Hashem is Hebrew for blessing of God. It's a very strange name. So I try to find something out about this place, and I can't find anything. The letter says that they're located in St. Albans. The address over there, it's a private house. The next they have an address in Far Rockaway. That's also a private house. I know the area because I lived there for many years. And then they have a place in Davie, Florida. All of them are Birkat Hashem LLC. So there's nothing I could find out about this place. And
You're saying you've been able to ascertain the applicant has multiple addresses for the entity?
Excuse me?
Are you saying, sorry, my voice doesn't carry. I've just missed part of that. So these multiple addresses are addresses that seem to be associated with the applicant?
Yes.
In different locations?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was following.
Right, so that's to begin with, okay? The only name I found out about this place is a supposed rabbi whose name is Ariel Edry, who's a director, but I can't find too much about him either. Okay, perhaps that's irrelevant, but...
Maybe, Mr. Brown, if there are questions about that are business and relevant, maybe Mr. Brown could answer them if you have.
You have an answer to that?
Hold on. She's got to take it down, so can you get to a microphone, maybe?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There's one for them. Okay. Because some of these questions he might be able to just answer.
Right. So I own multiple businesses.
Yes.
You may find my name under these locations.
What is your name? I didn't hear that.
Roger Yitzhakov. I said it when I came in.
Okay, that's okay.
Right.
So who is this Ariel Edry?
I don't know.
Why is he associated with, on the
With
internet, he's associated with your company, with Birkat Hashem LLC.
I don't know what this is. I'm the owner, and I have multiple businesses. That all addresses are all legit. In a different, you can see the 10620 Dunkirk Street. It's a different business. Pixie Bites is another different location. Far Rockaway is my house. Davie, Florida is my other business. Right. Nothing to do with the Birkat Hashem is, yes, is a beautiful name that I chose.
Okay.
It seems to be, you're all over the place. Secondly, to go to the location. I mean, we're talking now about
Where does this gentleman live?
would be a comic book monster. We have a hybrid building. Half of it is commercial and half of it is residential.
Now, the building is proposed is all residential.
Yes, but what are the legal aspects of it? Is it going to be under commercial law or under residential law?
Well, what he was saying was, if you look at the land, it's half of it is zoned business and half of it is zoned residential, but they're proposing residential on the entire property. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
I don't think it does, because it seems like it's a very strange kind of situation. Very strange. I mean, there's nothing like this I've ever seen before. I mean, I'm a real estate person, but especially, who builds a residential building on Long Beach Road in that area, which is totally commercial? You know, you can build a parking lot over there under the house. You won't be able to make a left turn out of that house because it's on Long Beach Road. It's, I don't know, about 100 feet from a light. The light turns red and you can't get out of that house. At least making a right turn.
Yeah.
I mean, making a left turn.
Making a left turn, you won't be able to.
It would be physically very, very difficult. I mean, and who would rent an apartment in a building like that, which is so badly situated? I mean, it's. Would you rent an apartment in that house? You can't make a left turn. And very often you can't make a right turn either because there's plenty of traffic over there. There's a lot of traffic going into the TJ Maxx shopping center. Happens, you know, right up until the time they close. You know, there is traffic, and getting in and out is a horrendous mess.
Okay.
And
Mr. Strick?
yes,
On the radius map, you're at 3243
Lawrence Avenue. Yes.
And is it possible it's denoted Moses Lane?
Excuse me.
Is it possible on the?
Oh, that you know, they never changed that name.
Okay, but
Moses was my mother-in-law.
Okay, we got the right place.
Yes, it's the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, she passed away, and we went to the whatever the office was over there and told them said they would change the sorry, I keep on thinking. They would change the what you call it, the title, yes, but they never did it. And you know, dealing with the bureaucracy is very difficult. Yes, that would be the people who live in the house. But this would have a very deleterious effect on all the people. The people who live on 4th Street,
Right.
I mean, they would have renters looking into their houses. They would, yes, go ahead. My wife wants to
I
speak.
just wanted to say something here that I was talking to the people. I talked to some people that live on 4th Street and 5th Street, which is right behind the proposed apartment building, and they said that you know, the property's long. They would be able to look right into their yards. So this will be an undesirable change to the neighborhood and Oceanside, having an apartment there, because those people that live back there, be 4th and 5th Street, they have children, they play in the yard, and they told me that, because I'm friendly with some of them, and they said that if there's going to be a big 3-story apartment building, these people that live there are going to be able to look out their windows and look right into their yard.
Only like 3 windows going facing that side. That's it.
Well, then that's 3 people.
Whatever. Yeah, because if it's an office building that's high, that's another story, because people go home. It's not that people aren't there day and night. It's just an office building. It closes up at night. But an apartment building, you have people living there 24 hours a day. So, you know, it's an undesirable change to the neighborhood and Oceanside to have apartments right there on Long Beach Road. Plus, it's dangerous, right? It's dangerous for these people, these tenants, because they can't make a left. They're going to have to just make a right, go into probably a TJ Maxx, and then turn around and then come out to the light, because there's a light there, and then make the left. That's probably how they'll have to do it safely. You can't what are they going to do, make a U-turn on Long Beach Road? Impossible. Right, because Chimichurri was a restaurant down the street past TJ Maxx, and they closed, and before that was a Rabinowitz Market, and they closed because nobody can make a left. On those, you just can't, without a light, you can't make a left. It was just difficult. So it's just undesirable change to the neighborhood. That's all I have to say. With people I talk to, plus congestion, plus and for the poor people that are going to take these apartments, they're going to have some time. It'll be dangerous for them. So it's all bad. Something else should come in here. Maybe a gym. A gym would be good. They can open a gym. We need a gym in Oceanside. There you go. Here's an idea.
How would they make a left turn?
Well, they'll right, but they're not going to be there.
Very difficult. Look.
They won't be living there 24 hours a
Very,
day.
very
at
difficult.
least.
Okay.
Very difficult. Right. Yeah, I know who lived there. A woman, Mabel, lived there. Mabel Schwartz. She lived there from 1950, like 1952.
52?
Yeah, something like that, until she died, and then she moved to Maryland in 2006. And that's, I know the whole history of that house because we were friendly with Mabel Schwartz. She lived there. She lived in that little house. She kept it very nice. It was a beautiful. Her husband bought that house in the 50s, and he bought that house and the whole row of stores, and then he sold them off slowly. So that's why the only thing left there is now that little. It was a deli and Mabel's house, and it's difficult to rent. Or to buy, or to sell, or anything.
The reason the delis failed is because there's no place to park.
There's no place to park. Right, the delis failed. That's why there's a freezer in there. So there was a deli. I know. And I think a gym would be good at that place. We need a gym.
We're not here to
Somebody want to build a
this
gym?
sort of thing. Okay, are we finished?
I guess so. Okay, I guess
it's not a good place for the neighborhood.
Okay.
Just
right. It will not be good, and it's not for those people on 4th and 5th Street.
I'm sorry if he's going to lose money. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll try to sell it.
Idea. Apartments is not good for that place.
Have anything else to add, folks?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Brown? Thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, that this matter be placed on the decision calendar. Every one of you, Mr. and Mrs. Strick, Mr. Brown, Mr. Nelson, and you, sir, will all receive, I can't pronounce your name, that's why, will all receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it is rendered. Thank you all for coming. It's been a long day, participating. Safe home, everyone. Mr. Brown, I know you're going to talk to this gentleman now.
All right. porch attached to dwelling. Property address is 100 Saddle Lane in Levittown. That is going to be adjourned to April 5th at 2 p.m. Next cases, 157 to 159 of 2023, Eddie Magliaccio, DBA Shooters. Variance front yard average setback, maintain roof over attached to existing dwelling, building, variance rear yard, relocate dumpster, variance rear yard, maintain oil tank. Property address is 21009 Montauk Avenue. That has also been adjourned to April 5th at 2 p.m. Case 160 of 2023 near East Rockaway, East Rock Development LLC. Variances front width from and on street line to front setback line, lot area occupied, front yard average setback, rear yard. Maintain 3-story dwelling with garage and proposed 2nd-story rear deck attached thereto. Address 1 East Hudson Street near East Rockaway has been adjourned to April 26th in the 9:30 a.m. Next two cases, 161 of 2023 and 162 of 2023. Applicant is Papio Development Corporation. 161 of 2023. Variance is subdivision of lot, front width from and on street line to front yard to front setback line. 85 address 85 Beechwood Avenue in Roosevelt. And we'll couple that with 162 of 2023, same applicant. Variance is subdivision of lot, front width from and on street line to front setback line, constructed dwelling with garage. Is there any discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
I move case 161 of 23 and 162 of 23 in Roosevelt, Papio Development Corp., 85 Beechwood Avenue, be approved as requested with the normal subdivision conditions.
Owner occupancy.
Yes.
Upon sale, one family dwelling. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Whoever wants to. I mean, it's owner occupied, it's single family. I know that kind of goes without
What
saying.
I said. Anybody else want?
Right.
Okay. Okay, those.
Can I just ask?
Chairman, I would just like to find out if there's a possibility of saying that garage cannot be converted.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, sir.
Can we move on? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Mr. Vogel, and I believe he said the attorney said they would file that covenant.
Covenant.
That's a part of our general
Part of it.
when it comes to new homes.
Okay. This is the one that actually had garages.
Yes, the other one did not. That's all right. Case 163 of 2023, Seaford. Special exception for a place of public assembly and amusement in portion of an existing building. Restaurant bar, variance and off-street parking. Property address 3490 Merrick Road. That case has been adjourned to April 26th at 2 p.m. Next two cases, 164 of 23 and 165 of 23. Franklin Square. Matthew Silberzweig and Benedetto Bianco are the applicants on both cases. 164, variances, subdivision of lot area, front yard setback on Tulip Avenue and Lexington Avenue, constructed dwelling, property address 1045 Tulip Avenue. Do I have any, well, I'll take 165 along with it. It's a companion case. 165 of 2023, same applicants. Variances, subdivision of lot area, constructed dwelling on lot A. That is east side of Lexington Avenue, 50 feet south of Tulip Avenue. Do I have any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to put this out there. We have traditionally not approved houses without garages, new construction. The way they're shown right now, they don't have garages, but in looking at the plans, and I just want to see if anyone has any thoughts, the way the first level is designed, there's a large living room, a very large dining room, a large kitchen, and a large family room. And in between the kitchen and the dining room, there's a large, for lack of a better term, hallway. And it just would seem to me, would it make any sense for us to consider The dining room can be right here, Mr. Cameron. Look, huge family room, huge living room, huge kitchen, big dining room. Couldn't the dining room, particularly given how large couldn't this be the dining room right here, and that could then be a garage? I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. We don't usually approve houses without a garage. And just FYI, what it leads to, in addition to other potential problems, is a bunch of sheds in the backyard too. And I'm not against sheds, but this design, it just seems silly that we have this giant hallway here that could serve as a dining room, and that could be the garage. But I don't know, just if no one's
any other board members have anything about it?
With Mrs. D'Amato. I think they should submit new plans showing, what do you feel, is one-car garage, two-car garage?
Well, even a single-car garage, at least, even if they don't use it as a garage, they put stuff in it. That's what, but I don't know. I mean, I don't.
No, you're not wrong.
No, you're correct.
And look at the size of this. This kitchen's very large. I'm not against that. Here's a very large family room, a very large living room, and this giant hallway here that would seem to me could fit a table, and we have no garage. Like, see how large these rooms are?
I'll reach out to Bob O'Brien and see if he can redraw plans and provide plans for at least a single-car garage.
And you see that it's configured in such a way that it lends itself to that.
I'll reach out. So put on reserve now?
Yep.
If that's what, if I'm alone in that.
No, you're not alone.
On reserve.
Pellegrini.
Okay, case 166 of 2023, Yeshiva Kol Torah. Variances, lot area occupied, front yard setback on Bayswater Boulevard, side yard, rear yard. Variance in off-street parking to maintain 2 detached classroom trailers in conjunction with an existing synagogue, which is inaccurate only because it's not a synagogue being used as a synagogue right now. The address is 44 Bayswater Boulevard. It's, do I have any discussion?
Yes. Obviously, I think we all were familiar with the conditions, but we also should state specifically in decision, if people are inclined to approve it, that it shall not, the main structure shall not be used as a synagogue, because that's supposed to be the offices, and otherwise we don't have the space that they, I also thought we should have a condition that there be no other activities like bat mitzvahs and catering and parties and et cetera, that the grant should be temporary as proposed to July 24th with no preclusion on it requesting an additional temporary grant, but it would otherwise, without that request, expire
or an
at that time. There is a shown door on the drawings that the chairman was asking about, but by way of the testimony, it seemed like that door doesn't actually exist right now, so we should ensure that a door is put in. And as Ms. Adams indicated, upon expiration of the grant, the trailers must be removed within 30 days.
Of vacatur.
And any return of should we include that once we preclude the use as a synagogue while it's operating as a school, do they need to reapply? Like, let's say those guys find a new place, take their trailers and go, and we've precluded synagogue use for the duration of this use. Are they going to need to reapply to use it as a synagogue? What do we?
The special exception would run with the land unless the use was abandoned. So if they,
well, the use of the synagogue has been abandoned.
So then, we can say that.
So,
I think that, and pardon me, but I believe the word abandoned is very subjective and not necessarily a legal term. So I don't know whether or not we can say that and qualify it if it ever gets unused.
Well, it's not being used as a synagogue, and we're going to preclude it during this grant because they're using that for their offices and their teachers and that, and these two are the classroom. My question is just...
And leave it at that.
Or do we say...
Do not specifically state
that's my question.
Or come to a conclusion that the religious use or the synagogue use has been abandoned.
Yeah, maybe just be clear about saying
that is
it shall be used for the school use and it's...
At the appropriate time, they can come back.
It's being used for school and prayer. It can be used for prayer. But no other synagogue-style activities, no...
School. We have to.
Tony, that's why it's
Yeah,
geared
so
to
say
July
that.
of 2024.
Did you kind of, I mean, you probably know this, but when the school discontinues its use, so then the trailer time to remove is gone.
They have 30 days from that.
Not, because if they might use the synagogue, the building, the dwelling, as a religious use, and abandon walk away from the school.
Well, they did say that they were going to get more students and use that portion of the actual standing structure for classes.
They have 37 now, but they said they already
They
have 50.
could go to 50.
We don't want them to keep the trailers there on a.
But we don't want it to become a synagogue with two trailers.
Yeah, that's.
So the trailer shall be utilized specifically only for
As classrooms.
Temporary. And it's temporary.
And by the way, I just want to say slightly different. So remember, I was saying we all agreed 30 days from the expiration of the grant the trailer shall be removed. I guess it should be 30 days from the expiration of the grant, or when they discontinue using it as a school, whichever comes first. Yeah, so you draft grant and we're going to do. And it was July of the year 24, right?
Grant.
Yeah. Okay. That's
All right. Next case.
With no preclusion on it.
105 of
He wanted the request to renew to
2023.
be able to be made administratively. I don't know. That's fine with me. So if there's an administrative way that you can, whatever.
Next case, 105 of 2023. Oh, sorry, 167 of 2023. That generally comes after 105, but that's neither here nor there. Special exception for proposed parking lot accessory to adjacent wholly fresh and not in compliance with the adjoining property. Do we have, property address is 3427 Long Beach Road. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, the conditions, if we're inclined to grant it, obviously, Mr. Bogle, I don't know if you're in there, 10 years.
Run concurrently with the existing lease.
Yeah, and that if at any point in time it ceases being used as an accessory to the store, the grant to use it as parking shall be void. And then I don't care if I guess if it's being used with the store, we can keep it, but technically they probably should have a written lease so that it's connected to the store as the store's parking. I don't know.
That's simple enough. Yes.
He said he would draft it one.
He'll draft it.
So let's put it on reserve. I'll get a copy of the lease, and then when I get a copy of the lease, I can put in the decision the date in which the lease expires, and that would run with the lease would run with.
Perfect. Yeah.
But you're not going to marry the two properties.
No.
No, just in terms of the parking lot has to have a
It's gonna be used
contractual
as an
right.
accessory use.
The store contractual right to use that as parking. And you might want to put, and it shall not be used for parking for other,
Exclusively.
yeah, because she may want to lease out spots somewhere else. We don't want people using it for the train.
They said that. They testified to
Right.
that. But it's used exclusively as an auxiliary use for Holy Foods. Okay. Next case, 105 of 2023, Elmont. Francesco Laverdi, variances lot area occupied, rear yard, constructed dwelling with garage. Property address is 167 Oakley Avenue. Do I have any discussion? Do I have any discussion? Do I have any discussion for the third time?
This is the case I think you wanted to.
There's no side entrance.
Side entrance, right.
And no exterior basement. I think you mentioned
Side
that.
entrance. I think there was one shown. I'm trying to.
No, that
Okay,
was the
so-
one where they had the window, the special window.
Yeah, the window that was the size of a door. Yeah.
Same conditions, owner occupied.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Also the garage not converted to living space.
Mr. O'Brien felt that his client in 2016 filed covenants and restrictions on the land.
Oh, yeah,
So
reconcile those.
whatever you have to do, you have to supersede, I guess, whatever you.
Or reconcile, whatever.
Yeah, you know what to do.
To the extent that the previous covenants
you'll reconcile.
Well said.
Cases,
No, we didn't.
Okay. Well, are you going to draft a draft grant?
draft grant.
You know, I don't think you need to.
Okay, so, no, they say not. So you want to make a motion? Someone?
Did you want to make one?
I'll make a motion. As it relates to case 105, 2023, Francesco Laverdi, as you previously described it, Mr. Chairman, affecting the property 167 Oakley Avenue, I move that we grant the request, the application, with the various conditions that we've just discussed. And to the extent council wants us to look it over, we will. That's my grant.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Cases 122.
I apologize. One thing, don't get mad, John, but on the, I would like to make, I'll have to make another motion on the 167. Do you want me to make the sequel motion now, or?
Take it now.
Right, we just gave you a draft grant on that, so that we didn't move on the case. So we'll do the sequel.
And then you make
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
sequel. Yeah, okay. Cases 122 to 126 of 2023, Uniondale. Variances, front yard average setback, lot area occupied, side yard, maintain one-story addition, enclosed porch, roofed over porch, and cellar entrance, all attached to dwelling. Variance, lot area occupied, maintain wood deck, attached to dwelling. Variance, lot area occupied, maintain shed. Variance, lot area occupied, construct detached garage. Variance, lot area occupied. I can't tell you how many variances for lot area occupied. Construct a two-story addition to the dwelling. That case has been adjourned to March 15th, 2 p.m. Finally, case 135 of 2023, Beercat Hashem LLC, use variance to construct three-story multifamily residence in a B district, Res B district, with lot area occupied, side yards, and rear yard variances. Use variance to construct three-story multifamily residence in a B district with height, lot area occupied, front yard average setback variances, and exceeding population density. Special exception to park in a Res B district, variance in off-street parking with insufficient maneuvering aisle. Property address is 3235 Long Beach Road in Oceanside. I think we want to have
I'd like to take a look at that. I'm familiar with the area, but I want to take some drive around too and consider some of those.
So we'll hold it.
Yeah, and if you could,
I think I'll do that
pull
myself.
the use variance standards again. I haven't looked at those in a while. That'd be great.
Patrick is getting those.
Okay.
Right?
And I'll provide something from Westlaw, which goes through all the case law about that.
Yeah, and I would also like to, if possible, to deal with this, I'd like to make sure I have a chance to review the video and or read the transcript. I don't know, how long are the transcripts taking?
Usually about 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so.
Yeah, but I'll put together a short memo on these variances.
Okay, and maybe.
That concludes.
One thing.
Go
This is
ahead.
the information about Shmuel Flom. They actually printed out a copy of the plans. It's actually almost identical to the case that was most recently granted today. There are no bedrooms in the basement. There's a home theater. There's what's called a Costco room, offices, mechanical rooms. It is a 2.5-story dwelling as confirmed by the building department. The only variances it would need now would be lot area occupied and front yard average setback. The front yard average setback that we denied was a request for 4 feet 3 inches. I believe it was a 30-ish foot setback required. We provided 26. As for the lot area occupied, they wanted 35%. They were permitted 30 with the decks. So this is the request for the rehearing. Those are the plans that were approved.
So we approved a 4-foot encroachment on front yard.
We denied the application in its entirety.
Okay, so the prior application we denied was the 35 coverage and the 4 encroach on the front yard?
And the third story was the
okay.
That was a
so
critical.
Now,
yes.
Now he doesn't have the third story request.
No third story, but he's maintaining the same lot area occupied.
Same. Okay, so that's all this change.
He doesn't have a third story request, but is the attic of a second story a total roof, total area?
It is not. It's 2.5 feet. He maximized the basement as well as the first and second
He went
floor.
down, right?
There's nothing in the attic. There's no way.
So it's a legit 2.5.
917 Cliffside Avenue and Cali Street.
Okay, so now what's before us is whether or not we're willing to.
Well, we were granted a rehearing for the newly submitted plans. It would be a change in the caption, renoticed with only lot area occupied.
Okay, I think it's sufficiently different application. What do you think?
I would.
Okay, I move, Mr. Chairman, that we grant the request for rehearing on case number
22 of 23.
22 of 20.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? That concludes today's calendar. Unless anyone has anything else they'd like to discuss, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Let everyone know at 7 o'clock tonight, there is the county, what do you call it,
State of the county address.
Oh, where will that be?
That'll be right after dinner.
Will that